the thing about Sweeney too is like if you're an artist and you show him something that you've done, or you want to talk to him about something that he's interested in, like an old movie or something that he's
Mm.
interested in, he'll open up a little bit. But for the love of fucking God, do not ask him about anything that he ever worked on. If you ask him about Dawn of the Dead or Martin or Maniac or anything, he's
Yeah.
just like, yeah. The most
Oh,
common
because
response
we
that he'll say is
love
like, oh, it's
Theater
the
Bazaar. Because we love fucking
Oh
Theater
yeah,
Bazaar.
you didn't
That's
tell him
why
about
we're
that
there.
yet. Yeah, yeah.
It was expecting.
But yeah, he's just not. He just couldn't care less about his own career.
Are you guys amped? I'm amped.
Yes, Scott Bakula, you gotta love it, right?
I'm here.
You know,
What's up, guys?
he's like, I'm
What's
here.
up?
You know.
I'm here.
All right. So what's up, everybody? Yeah. There's a third chair today. Todd, I'm going to let you introduce him because you guys have been communicating. I'm a little
Yeah.
bit of an outsider this time around, but
So this is Alpha Romero. He has his own YouTube channel. Great channel if you're into Romero. All things Romero. I thought I was a Romero head. This dude knows everything about Romero. So I was like, people wanted Martin. So the chat wanted Martin. And I was like, God, we gotta reach out to Alpha and see if he wants to jump on with us and talk Romero. And yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on board.
Man, thanks for having me, guys. I am always down to talk Martin. It's like I mentioned to you guys before. Martin's probably my second favorite movie ever behind Dawn of the Dead. Like I love this film, so any chance I get to talk about it and watch it again, I'm always down for it. So thanks again for having me, guys.
yeah, excited to have you on. And you know what? I did hop into one of your live streams a couple nights ago for a couple minutes, and this guy is familiar. I saw Night 90 Robert in there. So how you doing, man? So you must have
What's up,
be a
Robert?
transplant. Yeah, man. So I'm glad you're doing this too. I've only seen Martin a couple of times. We did a whole month of Romero, I think a year ago,
Year two,
and
yeah.
it, dude, it Romero'd me out for a minute because it was just we watched all of his films over the course of a couple of weeks. For a month straight, it was nothing but Romero. So props to you for doing like a whole channel dedicated to it. There's a couple of things that I could do that too. There's a couple of like I could probably. Sadly, I could probably talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ad nauseum and
Quantum Leap. We can do a Quantum Leap one too.
But eventually, you're going to run out of Quantum Leap.
Quantum
Todd.
Leap. Okay.
We love it. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why our theme is Scott Bakula. That's from the Quantum Leap soundtrack. Right.
Okay.
And then,
I can see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know if you're familiar with Rambo Raff for Life on YouTube.
Yeah, Rambo Raff. Yeah.
He's a
funny,
huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Yeah, he's hilarious because he's like reviews movies, doesn't give a shit like about what he says or who he offends, and it's but yeah, he's a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. So if you haven't checked him out before, check him out, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely will. And that's so funny because we used to, well, to a degree, we used to have that mentality. But I don't know how long he's been around, but he might learn quick that there's going to be a very low ceiling for that guy.
Oh no, he's been around for years, man.
Oh, really?
Been
He
around
gets
for
away with
years.
saying whatever he wants.
People,
yeah.
people pay him to review movies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he'll
Oh.
review anything. Like I remember one time I was checking out his channel and he dropped a new video and it was an episode of DuckTales that he was reviewing. Somebody paid him to review and he's just like, "All right, you pay me to review it, I'll review anything." So yeah.
That's a great concept.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool. And side note, it's not related to movies or Romero at all, but I could probably talk ad nauseum. Todd knows this about Metallica because I'm like an uber like obsessive fan.
Oh yeah.
You probably wouldn't want to know the lengths I would go to please them. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. There's a couple of things. Romero, this film. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, are you like all Metallica?
All of it.
Load, reload.
Look, you got to understand.
Not Saint Anger. It can't be.
Listen to me. Listen, Todd. Silence.
This is a test. This is a test. I want to see.
Okay, so here's the test. I'll tell you the test. I'll give you the answer. I'll give you the cheats. There are certain bands. This is the long way home, by the way, folks. There are certain bands that are lifestyle bands, right? There's plenty of albums that I love. Some of my favorite records, favorite groups I've seen squillions and squillions of times. But then there's bands that are, like I said, lifestyle band. You know, the Grateful Dead is like that, and they fucking suck. But you know what I mean? There's certain bands. Metallica to me is a lifestyle band. They've become that band. So they're like any sports team. You're with them when they're losing and they're winning. So I'm there for the whole ride. You know what I mean? Like I don't think you're around and at the top of your game as long as a band like Metallica, and you're not going to have your your deviations and stuff like that. Now, with
Kind of
that
like
said,
Romero, huh?
well,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
actually
I'll surprise you actually when it comes to Metallica. Load and Reload, the '90s Metallica is probably my favorite version of Metallica.
well, how
I
old are you?
I'm 36,
Same.
so
So yeah, I'm 38. When you're our age, that's our entry point. We were
Yep.
90s kids.
hmm
So it just tells you like what people have an affinity for and the nostalgia attached to it. And like, Todd mentioned saying we'll get to Romero in a second. I swear to God, everybody.
I'm
But
I can talk
Todd,
dude. I talk about Romero all the fucking time. Any chance I get to talk about anything else, I'm always down. So let's do it.
but so Todd mentioned Saint Anger. Now that album, was just reviled when it came out. I
Terrible.
think it was just polarizing. I remember when I came home from Best Buy with that. Actually, I got a ride from my parents, and I went in. I came out with the CD, popped it in the family because my dad loved Metallica too back in the day. And when that came on, just the look on me and my dad's face, and just the expressions, it was awkward. When you go to see a really bad movie that you talked up or something and nobody likes it, and it's like, oh God, I'm embarrassed. Even though I didn't like, as if I made the damn movie. That's the way it felt. I'm like, this is awkward. And being that young, they were like my superheroes. So you didn't want to see them fail. And that was like, yeah, I could maybe get to like this. You didn't want to admit this fucking sucks, man.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I
it is what it.
I actually I like Saint Anger too. Like that doesn't bother me at all. It's so different and so out there. Like there's no solos. It's like Metallica literally trying something different. Whether it works or not, I don't, you can. It's
Well,
debatable. Most people say it doesn't, but I actually like. And the documentary, Some Kind of Monster, actually kind of played into that a little bit for me because I like that documentary so much
great
because it was
documentary.
just so, and it's Joe Berlinger, the guy who did one of my other series of favorite documentaries, in the Lost Paradise.
Lost. Yeah, Paradise
Jesus,
Lost.
Paradise
Amazing.
Lost, yeah. So I think
He
that
left
plays into
the
it too.
fucking band. He left the fucking band. It's so quotable, dude. The whole
It
thing
is. It
it's
is.
such a great. I love
Dave
I love
Mustaine's.
I love
he
no,
stole
I
the
love
show,
Kirk
man.
Hammett. Just like his weird. It's almost like that was like a take two. Was that a real reaction, Kirk, or what was that?
Well, Kirk's so kind of weird as it is. Like some of his lines in there, he's just like, "Come on, guys, let's just fucking jam it out." Like, and you're just like, "All right."
Like, come on, guys, can we just get along?
He's
Shut
like
up, you.
He's like the battered child in abusive marriage between Lars and James. He's just there, like, come on, guys, can we stop fighting, please?
And the amount of reels and memes we've gotten that people have mined from that documentary.
Yeah, that's true.
And the
Absolutely.
and the ones that like, even the ones that people put false audio in front of are hilarious. And some of them are surprisingly not, like when Kurt can't get that one lick down, and you have James Hetfield, no, right there, no, the third fret, no, the third fret, no, the third. It's just like, oh God. It's so humbling. That's what I like about it. I remember when I bought that documentary, my dad watched it too, and he gave it, I let him borrow it, and he gave it back to me, and he says, I asked him what he thought, and he said, because as a film enthusiast, I liked it. As a film, I thought it was great. That's exactly what you want out of a doc. My dad is not so much of a film enthusiast. He's very much your vanilla, basic garden variety, whatever's on. And he looks at me and says, that moment when you find out Santa Claus isn't real, that's what this movie was like to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's like, I didn't want to see this,
Yeah.
and I get that side of it too. It's like for a film, it makes a great film. Maybe I kind of wish I was watching about a band I didn't love as much, because I love those documentaries. I'll watch documentaries of bands I hate, and it doesn't mean I'm not going to watch their documentaries or whatever. I do it all the time, and I like understanding where people come from. But yeah, it's like pulling back that much curtain. You do. Like, okay, I don't want to see they're really rich.
It's like you have this idea of what Metallica is in your mind. It's like, oh, a metal band, like party guys, and then you see them in therapy and just like crying and screaming at each other like petulant children, and you're just like, Jesus.
Yeah, so your foot's in both sides. It's like, look, it's humanizing, which is great, but also it's humanizing. Fuck, they're not superheroes. But whatever, you get over that, and I did. And I was gonna say, to put a cap in it, that I think Time is really good to all of their albums. It's the best friend to them. So like we grew up in the 90s, so we have an affinity for Load, Reload, S&M, whatever. Kids now are like, I love Saint Anger. Like kids that are 20, 25 now, where they grew up with Saint Anger when they were like in elementary school, and it blows me away. And I tried to tell Todd that I'm like, it's having its moment. It's having
Dude,
its
like
moment.
it's the same thing with movies too. Like you see all these like younger folks that are like, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake is a forgotten classic, and you're just like, what world are you living in?
We
Like, what are you talking about? But to
we
them,
talk
it's like one of the first horror movies they probably ever saw, so they grew up with it. You know what I mean?
we talk about it all the time. We're Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It has this dude. Somebody, I don't know I don't know the story behind it, but somebody had to have acquired the rights, and because there came a point within 10 years ago where they started merching that property out. It's in all the Spirit Halloweens. You
Hot
got
Topic,
NECA putting out toys, Hot Topic shirts. Somebody clearly acquired those rights and is trying to get their return on it.
Well, I think
Which
somebody
is
saw how much money the It movies made and was just like, "Holy shit,
possibly,
Killer Clowns! Let's anything killer. Oh, there's a movie called Killer Clowns. Let's buy it, and market shit out of it, and it worked.
and
My
then there was
4-year-old loves it. So
yeah, and I thought it's a perfect entry gateway for horror for kids. But because you don't actually see any of the violence, it's PG-13. Everything happens off screen. It's pretty with the exception of that guy getting his head bopped off. But even then, it cuts away, and it's really like the fakest dummy head with no blood.
yeah,
But what's funny though is I remember growing up, I couldn't even find the movie when I was a kid. I knew I watched it when I was a kid. We had like a burned DVD, or not a burned DVD, a VHS tape that started that we after the title. So I never knew, and I always thought it was called Space Clowns, right? Because whatever. And I remember trying to describe the movie, trying to find it, and I could not find the movie anywhere. That's how much of an anomaly it was. Nobody knew what I was talking about, and then now everybody knows it. So that's just it's out there though, which is great. And then another movie, obviously, is Halloween 3, where
oh yeah,
now
Halloween
people
3.
love that movie.
Yeah, when I was younger, and like, because I've always been like into horror and stuff. So when I was a kid, and like I was, oh, Michael Myers, Halloween movies. My aunts, uncles, grandparents, parents, they would go, oh yeah, but avoid part 3 because that one's terrible. It doesn't even have Michael Myers in it, and you're just like, as a kid, you're like, oh, well, I don't want to watch that. And then you get older, and you're like, well, I'll try it, and then you realize it's probably the best sequel of them. It's like there's a lot of movies like that.
My parents used to pick up like VHSs. They'd buy like used VHSs. They were discounting at a rental place or whatever. They brought home Halloween 3. I don't know why they would have bought it if they had seen it before. Maybe they hadn't watched it before, but I know when we watched it, like, oh, this sucks. There's no Michael Myers. I loved it. I've been watching it since since elementary school. And I'm like, I've always liked it. I'm like, I don't know. I've seen that one.
Robert,
Nightmare on Elm Street remake is way better than Martin. Ooh.
Robert's not a fan of Martin. Robert's not a fan of Martin. He watched it on my recommendation because I talk about it all the time, and he had never seen it. And then he watched it. He's like, I don't get it. It's
an acquired taste. You need to rewatch it a few times.
Yeah.
I'll as soon as we start the flick here in a second, I'll tell you about my history with Martin. I have to come full circle though, real quick. Saint Anger does it. Time has been kind to it in a way. It's still an anomaly where I want to always go back to it and just like, let's see how I feel about it now. And no, I don't ever love it, but there's things about it you like. There's things. It's almost good, if that makes sense. Every song could have been great. Like this needed more time to bake. They needed someone to tell them to do this, not that. Like even when they pull out Saint Anger every now and again live or Dirty Window live, they amend it. They shorten it. It's like, we don't need that verse. We can cut straight to here. And they add a solo. You listen to them play Saint Anger, and the snare's not live.
It sounds like Pip farting on a snare drum. But
listen to him play Saint Anger in the last like 5 years, and it sounds more like, okay, we should have like worked on it longer to get closer to this.
Well, I think to kind of connected to Romero, I think Metallica's, it's like one of those bands. It's like, I feel like that album wouldn't be as hated as it is or was if it wasn't Metallica. Like if it was just some new band, if it was, Skull Monsters or whatever the fucking band would be. Like, I feel like people would be like, oh, it's not terrible, but it's Metallica, so your bar is set so high. And I feel like it's the same with like Land of the Dead or some of the later Romero stuff. If it wasn't Romero doing those films, I think people would be a lot more kind to them, as opposed to being like, oh, this is the guy who made Dawn of the Dead, and Land of the Dead, what a piece of shit that is.
Continuing that comparison, I don't think it's so much that it's Romero. I don't think it's so much that it's the guy that created such a masterpiece like Dawn of the Dead, or it's the guys that did Master of Puppets. It's also just the fact that these guys were kind of early in, and they were able to write the blueprints. So you take someone like Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath, who kind of wrote everything first, and everybody just sort of like look at Symptom of the Universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dun 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 dun. Okay, that's every metal song that came after. It's just pedal note chugga on that low string and just but back then it was revolutionary. Now Tony Iommi has put out work, obviously post 20th century, and if you love Tony Iommi, you're gonna like it. But now it sounds stock. But you give him a pass because it wasn't stock before he did this. But everybody has just recycled it so much it comes off that way. And with Romero, it actually makes me think of Coffin Joe. Coffin Joe, and in his series of flicks. So those first couple of films, the black and white ones, they're really cool, man. You always look at it through the lens of when it came out. Okay, considering the era these came out, this is pretty spooky. I could see why it was controversial. And then he didn't make his official, like, I know he appeared in other shit along the way, but he didn't make his official third installment until, what was it, like the late 90s or something? And we're talking about like 3 decades have passed. And I'm watching it, and it's got that, like, I don't know, almost 21st century stink on it, the way it looks. And it's the same
People say
thing.
the same thing about like Land of the Dead and stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like, some of the CGI is just like, why,
In essence, it's the same thing, because it's him. Now he's old and fat. He's wanting to impregnate somebody and have an heir. And I'm like, this it's so fucking weak and watered down and weird.
Not quite the same,
In 30 something years, like, this is so tame. It was hardcore in the 30 years ago, 40 years ago, not today. And I just think that's they're the victim of that. But that's a good problem to have if you're one of those guys. So, but definitely Romero's the same way, man. Even though, just let's be honest, Survival of the Dead just fucking sucks too. Come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I'm not going to defend Survival. It's definitely at the bottom of my list. But even if you look at that, and if you try to compare it to other films that came out around, other zombie films that came out around that time, that were made for about the same budget and the same constraints as Survival of the Dead. I mean, we're talking about what the Zombie Diaries and all this, the shit like that.
Oversaturation too.
Yeah. But it's still like, oh, okay, this is at least something different. It's kind of a Western. There's a message to it. But yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite for sure. I'll definitely cringe that.
But it's always fun to think about, and I did when I was watching Survival last time during Romero month. What if Survival came out a couple of years after Dawn, when we didn't have all these other zombie movies? Because like I said, he was an early adopter. But now it's like, dude, after
it's played out
40, 50 years of zombie movies, and that's what you give us. No, the standards have raised. It's been done. So it's not necessarily.
George was kind of tired of that genre, the zombie genre at that point anyway, but that's all they would give him money to make was like, oh, you're the zombie guy, so you got to make a zombie movie. It's got to be of the dead. He even jokes in the documentary of the making of Survival of the Dead. It's like, it's got to be of the dead. It's like, why does it have to be of the dead? It's like, how about we call this Enough of the Dead? Like, why? I'm tired of this shit. Like, it's like, that's all they would give him money to do,
So it's not his fault. I don't think it's his fault. He's just, like you said, he's kind of in that corner, and I don't think it's any of those guys' fault that have such a legacy. It just is what it is. But anyway, let's go ahead and start it. I think that's the longest pre-movie chat we've ever had. But
I got you started on Metallica, and I was just
together,
like, let's talk.
I love it. I love it. Hopefully you guys didn't tune out. Timestamps. But no, I love it. I can talk about it all day long. But let's go ahead. We got this film in the description of the video.
Yeah, it's on archive. So
okay. And I just want to say, Alpha, I'm glad you're here because, like I said, I've only seen this movie. This is my third time. Feel free. You jump in and talk about and drop your factoids on me, because I usually kind of like steamroll it, but I'm not the guy. If you got something to say, you say it, man. Go for it.
Yeah, you got any strong feelings. Don't
Well, if you have any questions or any like confusion, because I know Robert in the chat here say, I can't understand why the uncle calls him Nosferatu if he already knows he's killing and drinking people's blood. Why hasn't he called the cops? It's a good point, but yeah, I mean, just like questions like that, if you're confused about that type of shit, I mean, I can kind of shed some light on that. But I mean, that's kind of the whole thing of the movie, is that the uncle feels like it's his duty to save Martin's soul before killing him himself because it is his responsibility because of the family curse and the family shame and all that.
And
So
they
That's
get
good
that out of the
stuff.
way really early, right? I don't think it's confusing. I think, because he says that right when he picks him up from the station or whatever and gets him in the
yeah.
house, and you kind of, all right. So let's go ahead and get it started. Everybody got the film pulled up?
All right, I'll be watching my trusty old Lionsgate
Oh, there you
Martin
go. Yeah.
DVD.
That's the way to go. Hey, I noticed the
First version I ever
file.
bought.
Is the
Yeah.
DVD have a cold open like this? I can't remember because the file has a cold
It
open.
should have a cold open just
Okay.
to the
It should
train, I
open
believe.
straight up, and it opens right
the
on
train.
like all aboard, and
Yep.
Yep.
people are boarding a train. So
All right, guys. So we're gonna get started in 3, 2, 1, play.
all right, there's Christine Romero.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there's
She
Christine.
bootleg Penny Marshall. You mean?
And the conductor here is Vince Stravinsky, the guy that shoots Dwayne Jones at the end of Night of the Living Dead.
Really? I didn't
Oh
know
yeah,
that.
good
No
call,
doubt.
man. I was saying that I saw this movie. I've seen this movie 3 times. Well, this is my 4th time now. The first time I watched it was with Todd, with Riverman here when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And he kind of introduced me into Romero. You were the one that lent me your copy of Dawn of the Dead. And so and I remember watching this one at his house. I like Dawn of the Dead. I love Dawn of the Dead. And I liked it when I first saw it. Now I think it's George Romero's only 10 out of 10 masterpiece in my opinion. But when I watched this, I remember hating it being like a teenager, young teenager, 14, however old I was. I don't think I was there yet. Right. I think what I was consuming movie wise hadn't prepared me for something a little bit more heady and kind of slow burny like Martin.
Yeah.
And then when I watched it last year for the first time in years and years and years, because like I said, I'm in my upper 30s now, I appreciate it a lot more. I'm like, wow, I
It's
liked it.
definitely an acquired taste because it doesn't play out quite like your typical, and it's definitely not like a party movie. It's not something you want to watch with a bunch of friends and have a good time with. It's one of those like slow burn, quiet, atmospheric
Pretty
type of
sleazy
horror
too, which is
film.
nice.
Yeah, and really
You'll
when you
just go
break
to sleep. Like,
when
just
you
let it
break the
happen.
character down, I told John Amplis this. I was like, your performance in Martin, which Tarantino calls Amplis's performance as Martin in this the best performance in any Romero film ever.
I think,
That's right.
yeah, fantastic.
And the thing that's awesome about it is he's actually playing the sleaziest, worst monster character. Like he's a rapist, he's a murderer, he's a peeping tom, like anything you could possibly be. But at the exact same time, you sympathize with his character somehow. You feel bad for him. You kind of want him to get away every time, you know.
And I think when I was just younger, though, because I didn't remember too much about it, I think it just bored me. I don't think I had watched and been conditioned enough for slow burn. Like I said, more movies you have to digest and really think of. I hadn't been conditioned at that point yet, and now I guess I am. So, and I appreciate it. And yeah, he's the perfect character as you put it. You want somebody you can kind of empathize for, and he you feel bad for him because obviously we're dealing with which way are we going here? Is he a really vampire or does he just think he's a vampire? We got 2 people, him and his uncle, that are all on board for this. Nobody else is. What's true? And I spoiler alert, I watched the little featurette making of this, and Romero likes to think it's fake. And I'm like, look, well,
Yeah.
you're the writer, so it's fake.
Yeah.
I think when you're the writer of something, you should know. Even if you want to leave it ambiguous, that's cool. I know people hate that. I think it's neat, but as long as you have a direction as the writer, even if it's lock and key, for him to go, I like to think, like, bitch, okay, so that's what it is, and which kind of kills it a little bit. But I think that's what I thought too, obviously. And you feel bad for him because, yeah, dude, if he's been groomed with all this nonsense, right, from his
Yeah.
family and his uncle, you do feel bad for him because he's clearly got mental problems, and you mix that with the nurturing he received. Yeah, you feel bad for him. The scene.
Yeah. Romero. I think Romero pretty much knew because I mean, even the cover art, if you've noticed, the razor blade, which I got the T-shirt on here, available.
Oh,
at
that's awesome, dude.
shop.alfaromero.store.
I might have to pick one of those up.
Even
man.
the razor blade has the fangs and stuff on it, but it says at the top "Made in the USA," like on the razor blade, and it's pretty much Romero's way of saying like you're a product of your environment. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why the setting is in Braddock, a town that has been destroyed and depleted by the leaving steel industry, and then these people are grasping to their town, you know, and um,
Yeah, the
Romero
setting's
definitely
perfect.
knew it's he's not an actual vampire. It's definitely it's just like I don't know if you guys you said you watched all of them. Season of the Witch, Jack's
Oh yeah.
wife. The
Yep.
idea of if you believe something strong enough, you can make it happen. If you, it's like I'm gonna summon him to my house tonight, and he doesn't show up, so you pick up the phone, you know, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I knew you were gonna come, you know. It's like, oh yeah, because you called him, you know.
Well, our boy's about to come. All right. Hey, I tell you what, though, Season of Witch. Pardon me while I vomit. So
Aaron, that's another one Aaron doesn't like. See,
A lot of people don't.
I have a couple Romero films that
it's
I don't.
always Vanilla's the
Yeah.
worst. Todd goes, "Well, Season of Witch is better." I'm like, that doesn't mean it's good, and it is. It's a little better than you don't know what the fuck is going on, and it's this first movie, but it doesn't do it for me. It's just a little. I mean, even the Donovan song. All right,
But the thing is, though, I mean, the Romero movies that I don't like, a lot of people probably do like, which I don't like The Dark Half, and I don't like Monkey Shines. I like
who
pretty much
likes those,
everyone.
Todd? Name somebody
Alpha
in
probably
here.
likes
Raise your
them.
hand if you do.
Those are probably my least.
Okay,
But it's because it's
this is the
not.
Like
Metallica.
we were saying, it's the Metallica
This
thing.
is the
Yeah.
sane anger coming
I
out of
I
you.
just
I get-
rewatched both of those recently for the stream I did on Saturday. I just watched both Monkey Shines and
Okay.
Dark Half for the first time in quite a while, and I can't argue they're well-made films. They look fine. Everything's okay about them, but it's just not Romero's voice. It was Romero doing a studio film, doing somebody else's work, Stephen King or you know. So that to me is just like Romero trying to prove that he can, you know,
I
play
love
with
it.
the big boys, quote unquote.
I love it because I can tell how passionate you are about Romero because this is me with Metallica. This is that talk again. The same.
Yeah.
I love it. No, I get it. I 100% get it. And we got some action here, but no, it's not action. It's grape. I don't, Todd, I tell him all the time. This isn't okay. Sorry,
Some
guys.
real action, folks.
No, no, I tell Todd all the time, and everybody knows I really, really hate grape. We say grape to avoid I hate
Okay,
sexual
sorry.
assault. No, it's all right. I hate this kind of stuff in movies, but this one's done so well and classy. They don't show you too much. We get it. I think he did it
Yeah.
right. Like
Yeah, that's the thing about Romero too, is you're not gonna see like even the scene in The Crazies with Richard Liberty and Lynn Lowry,
Mhm.
even that
Yeah.
could have but even that was done in a way where it's cutting to different things and it's not showing too much, but it's just insinuating what's going on. And that could have been really sleazy exploitation, you know.
yeah, and call me a prude, but I think but hinting that this is what happens is enough. That's dark enough.
Yeah.
Like and when anybody that shows it in gratuitous like
I
acts,
love that that razor blades.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so simple. It's so simple. And that's what like that was the effect that Savini walked into the offices of 247 Fort Pitt Boulevard and introduced himself to George and was just like, "Hey, this is what I can do," and he did it. And his wife, you know, Christine, freaked out, and George was like, "All right, you're hired." So that just that one little razor blade
So effective,
effect
man.
there. Yeah.
On the featurette, I think Savini was saying that he thinks that's the same stuff they used on Dawn, and it was like, wasn't it like theater blood? He's like, yeah, it turns out maybe it looks great in theater setting, at
Yeah.
a distance, it doesn't look good in the movies, but I love it. I actually love Dawn
Looks
of the Dead's
great.
blood,
Yeah.
and I think that's Dawn of the Dead feels like a pulpy, almost like comic book. I love how the zombies look really stupid and blue. I love the super bright red that contrasts with it. I think it's great. I think
Each
it's
zombie
all
has their own personality, which is fantastic.
and that's
And
100%.
that's to me like when I hear people now, like especially the younger generation, talk about the zombies and down there, like, oh, the old blue face zombies and blah blah. I'm just
Love it.
like, yeah, but they're people. Like
Yeah.
it enhances the point of the whole film, which is that they're us. You know,
Yep.
we're them, they're us. You know, and you can see it in their. You know, you can just pick up. You got the nurse zombie, and you got the police
Baseball
officer,
zombie, the fat
baseball
zombie,
You know, and
yeah.
you remember them.
Yep.
Now you see a zombie film, and there's so much goop, and there's so much stuff,
Yeah.
and it looks great. But at the same time, you couldn't pick them out of a lineup. You couldn't say, like, "Oh, you were in that," you know.
Yeah.
So
And when I describe it, yeah, like a comic book, it's like if they would have made that with more of a budget for more of a mass market, you would have thought they would have made Dawn of the Dead with the purpose of selling action figures to kids. right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's that TMNT, all that stuff. They would literally, we need more characters in the show because we need more toys to sell, different looking characters. And
Well, now they're
but
just selling action figures to middle-aged nerds like me. So
yeah, dude, no, same. I'm trying to get out of it. Like this whole back wall, Todd will tell you, used to be
Yeah.
all toys, and I cleared it out, and
Oh,
they're
dude.
all boxed up, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna. You actually can't see it, but there's a lot here off camera. I still have some stuff, but I'm trying to thin it out, man. I gotta eventually hit a wall where it's like, well, when you have no more room, it's time to start selling stuff.
Yeah. I'm at
But
that point now too with my room. Like I have toys and posters and just shit upon shit in here, and it's at a point now where it's just like I should probably start getting rid of some of this stuff. I would think just to make room. Starting to get a little crowded.
hey, on the topic of Dawn, that's exactly. I mean, I hate to drive this point home because people, Day of the Dead. That's why Day of the Dead is nowhere near as good to me. I'm not saying, and it always comes off like I really shit on Day of the Dead and I hate it. I don't hate it. It's just because it's next to Dawn. It just like I still think Day of the Dead's a 7 out of 10, which I think is a really good movie.
Oh,
That's
it's
to me.
10, man.
No,
It's a different zombie film.
to
which
me,
I
that's
like.
Yeah.
to me a 7 out of 10 is really good. But dude, Dawn is just a perfect storm. It's a perfect movie, and it's just such a high bar. And so yeah, we went from this really colorful 70s movie and with all this stuff going on to Dawn of the Dead's Day of the Dead's very bleak. And maybe you could argue, like I said, that's maybe the point. Very bleak, and the setting's very bleak. We're underground in that weird base. All the zombie. Now we're getting into the goopy kind of like all samey, except for Dr. Tong, and there's some cool ones, but they just look a little bit more samey. We're kind of starting to go there. I don't
Yeah.
know. It just it with the exception of
I
Bub, who's
agree.
fantastic.
I
Bub is
agree.
fantastic,
Yeah.
but that was the first step. And fast forward to Nicotero doing the stuff in like Land of the Dead. I'm like, okay, now it's just Walking Dead. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I love Day of the Dead. I didn't love it the first time I saw it because I was like you. I was wanting Dawn of the Dead too. I was wanting, oh, this is the sequel to Dawn. I was younger. Then you watch it and the movie opens, first 10 minutes, they're in this, deserted city and you're like, holy shit, like this is going to be crazy. And then it's like, nope, we're flying back, we're going underground, and then we're all just going to scream at each other for the next 90 minutes. And you're just
Yeah.
like, as a teenager, you're just like, oh, that's not what I was hoping for. But I definitely,
And again,
it's grown on me over the years for sure. Like I do.
and again, don't
It's up
confuse this for hate, Todd, because I don't hate the characters in Day of the Dead, but
Yeah.
they're not as good by a long shot as the characters in Dawn.
Well,
Yeah, I love
like I said,
Bob.
they're different. I wouldn't consider them
Saint Anger. This is see Exhibit A. This is
but
Todd Saint Anger.
I,
It's just
I,
different, Todd.
I love
It's just
Gary
different,
Clark.
dude.
I mean, they're hysterical. Joel Pilato. I mean, Terry
Todd,
Alexander.
banging
Yeah,
on
they're
these trash
great.
cans doesn't make your ears bleed. It's just different.
The characters in Day are definitely less likable. But
They're
I think
less
it's because
but I don't know. It's over the top. I
That's
like
get
what
it.
it
it.
is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah, they're kind of miserable. And I love seeing that contrast of the transition period in Dawn of the Dead. They're excited, they're in the mall, they're like, oh shit, look at all consume, look how cool this is. They're having fun, the goofy music's playing, and then it kind of takes you to the despair and the back half. And I guess I just like the contrast, whereas it makes sense in Day of the Dead, we're in the thick of it. They're used to this.
Yeah.
And so I get it. It makes sense, I guess, for the material, but it's just not as fun. Just like The Walking Dead. Like no one's joking around in The Walking Dead either.
Well,
Why would you?
I think that's why Day of the Dead didn't do well when it came out because I mean it's like smack dab in the middle of the 80s and you think of all the
Yeah.
other movies that came out and all the
Oh,
great
yeah.
horror movies that came out in 85,
85,
Reanimator,
man.
Return of the Living Dead, Friday 13th Part 5, which is my personal favorite of that series.
I
And
love
it's
me
like
too, probably.
it's like it's over the top, it's fun, and then here comes Day of the Dead and it's just like no, life sucks and then you die. And everybody's just
I like being,
oh,
I like
don't
being
watch
miserable
this.
though. 'Cause that's my life.
But I think that's why Day
Yeah.
of the Dead has grown in popularity over the years because I think people, as time has gone on, have become more cynical and become more nihilistic, I guess, in the way of their thinking. And people, it's kind of, to me, I look at Day of the Dead as what Day of the Dead is for Romero is what The Thing is for John Carpenter. When The Thing came out, people were just like, oh, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch E.T. E.T.'s the alien movie I want to watch. And then years later, everybody kind of realizes like, oh shit, The Thing is actually kind of a masterpiece.
Yes, absolutely.
No, well, I mean, it was just a couple of years before where Alien came out, But yeah, I mean, a lot happened between
Yeah.
79. It's like, it just, yeah, the landscape changed. Hey, Robert, he says, I keep hearing about the grooming aspect. I didn't notice that at all in the movie. So, I mean, but how else did he come to think this if his uncle was already
Yep.
you know, clearly it was getting drilled into him.
His whole family, yeah.
It's his,
I
it's
mean,
mother, father,
Mhm.
everything he's ever been around since the day he was born.
Yeah.
He is the family curse, the family shame. He has the Nosferatu curse. So if you're told something constantly from the time that you're born, and that's all you've ever known,
It's like cult shit. It's just,
exactly, exactly.
and so
Except
you
the
might
cult
know,
in this is Catholicism.
Yeah.
you might know better than me. Maybe it's something I missed, but where in their personal beliefs in lore does make him Nosferatu? What about, is it like a generational thing, like every X amount of generations? Like, why is it him?
Well, they actually touch on it. There's kind of a bit of an explanation at some point, but there's actually 3 different curses. There's 3 different members of the family that have the curse, and I think 2 of them have already died, and the last one remaining is Martin, and he's now come to Cuda, and that I don't know. It's all family, old country superstition is what it is. You know, the old country. You know, back in Italy. You know.
Romanian Colonel Sanders. Hey, by the way, Cuda. Yeah, so Cuda, the whole time they talk about Cuda, I'm like, man, doesn't that sound like a big Islander WWF character? Ooh, Cuda. Like, oh god, here comes Cuda. It just, that's not what Cuda looks
It's the
like
newest
to
member
me.
of the bloodline. You know.
There you go.
It's Cuda.
Yeah. Which he's the actor in Amusement Park, right?
Yeah,
He's the main guy. Which is,
and he's
I
like,
actually really like Amusement Park. I think that was great. I'm glad.
Yeah,
they
he's
came
a
out with that.
fantastic actor, and he's actually, his son went on to be, his name's like Lauren Mizell, was actually like one of the most successful and influential, like band director, not band director, what do they call them, conductors in the history of the world. Like, he was universally known. And funny enough, like Lincoln, you see him here, he's probably what, 70, something like that. He ended up living to be like 105 years old or something. He just died not too long ago.
Jeez Louise. Let's face it, though, he probably died at least 20 years ago, really. Jeez, 105. God, wiping his own ass, probably not. Oh, unless he's like William Shatner.
All that fried chicken, man, it kept him around 105.
I guess
That's
so,
right.
dude.
That's right. I'm from Kentucky, man. I'll tell you, fried chicken will keep you young.
Hey, I lived in Kentucky for a period of my life. That's
Where
why I
at?
always talk. I used to live in Danville, small town Danville. Okay, so we'll sidestep. So I always talked about this movie, Haunted Ween. You know Haunted Ween?
Oh yeah, Bowling Green.
Bowling Green.
I'm like an hour away from Bowling Green.
Okay, so I grew up when I was living in Kentucky. I used to go to this mom and pop shop, and we would just rent movies every other day. We'd rent new movies, and I was like in elementary school. The plumbing didn't work, but I knew I liked big boobies, so I'm like, I want to go for the horror movies because I get a little stiffy. Not that I have anywhere to put it. Problem.
I was there once. I was there once.
The plight of a 9-year-old or whatever, 8-year-old. Anyway, so I remember renting Haunted Ween, and to me, when you're a kid, you're not really splitting hairs on stuff. To me, it just looked like another Friday the 13th like movie. Cool, it's like Jason. And even when I watched it all these years, I didn't really think of it as, oh, this is a piece of shit compared to Jason. Like, it's shot on video. You don't think about that. And I grew up my whole life thinking, God, there's this movie, it was like a Friday the 13th ripoff, and in my brain, I remember it being like a similar quality, and nobody knew about it. And I'm like, how come nobody knows about this movie? And of course, later on, I find out, the Bowling Green, and it was an indie film. I'm like, okay, so they probably just sold it regionally. Like, it probably didn't make it to where Todd lived or whatever. So, but now it's, now it's gotten,
it's out there. Didn't like Vinegar Syndrome or one of those just
they
release it?
They put out a homegrown horror sets. These box
that's right.
sets.
Yeah.
And it's in one of them, it's in the one that's like sold out and you can't find anymore. Which I would love to have that one, just because
we did a commentary on it. It's a heck of a lot of fun, man. That movie,
great commentary too.
Well, my buddy Will actually lives in Bowling Green. He's on the channels with me sometimes. He's a huge Don Romero fan, and he actually can tell you everything about Haunted. He can take it all the filming locations, and because he's born and raised, he went to Western Kentucky University, so he knows all that, as well as all the John Carpenter stuff. Like he took me on a little tour of all, like, here's where John Carpenter was born. Here's where this street was named after.
Cool.
It's just like, and the Phelps, what was it? The name of the the towing company or whatever that you see in Halloween. It's the
Okay.
Phelps
Yeah,
Towing
yeah.
Company. It's like that actually exists in Bowling Green. That's where Carpenter got that from. You know,
Yeah.
Ruskville is a real town. You know.
Well, if it wasn't for him, then this movie would be the pride of Bowling Green. I mean, what do they got? It's like they're gonna know everything about these things,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's just yeah, it's a fun movie. I love that guy, the kiss my grits. That like guy
Yeah.
is always saying stuff
So many
like
good
that.
one-liners.
Yeah, it's a charming movie, but anywho, yeah. I guess I missed it then, but yeah, this is a good point, Knight. So I guess I missed that, but even if I believed I was a vampire, it wouldn't mean I would grape and murder women. There's no justification for what Martin did. Look, I know
I'm
we're
not saying
talking
there's
about
justification for it,
yeah,
but
nature
like
versus
that's
nurture.
it's
Let's say
also he's also a product of the
yeah,
movies and
Yeah.
the literature. Like when you watch
Yeah.
Dracula and you put the woman under the spell, and he's like he actually talks about that in the movie. It's
Yep.
just like it's like you can't make people do what you want them to do. That's unrealistic in the movies, and he feels like there's the only way that he can have that kind of connection with another person is if he kills them and drinks their blood until he meets, the Elaine Nadeau character coming up.
what
But
and that I think that's done masterfully. By
Oh,
the
she's
way,
great.
I
Yeah.
I
And
don't.
what happens with that?
But I mean the way he puts that into the script where all it takes is a couple of references to the movies where he says these things. I think he says like on the radio station. I don't know. But he
hmm
he mentions it's not that way in the movies. And then you have these flashbacks where it's clearly like, are you just imagining yourself in Bram Stoker's Dracula?
yeah,
I think it's done subtly enough.
because
I
he
think it,
says he thinks he's an 82, 84-year-old vampire or whatever
Yep.
it is, but he's obviously not. He's obviously a teenager, but in his
Mhm.
mind he's convinced himself that he existed during that time.
he could be real if you believe in shapeshifters, bro. Like, there's a lot of those. Some of the people, my mom, I think, believes in shapeshifters. I think she's one of those people.
So Aaron and I was talking to him earlier about this. So you think this was one of the first times where they had the the killer call into a radio station? Like I haven't seen that prior to this.
It has to have happened historically in real life. That stuff has happened.
Yeah, but in like the movies, I mean, I thought that was a great idea for Romero back in what
Yeah, and the
67
fact that
came out.
nobody believed him, they just think it's a character.
Yeah.
Let's say he's just like, "Oh, Count, you're doing this is great. We got to meet up. Like this is some really good stuff." And he's just like,
Because that's been
yeah, I
done
don't
so
know.
many
That's a good
times now
question.
after that with
Oh yeah,
Psycho and the other Mel Gibson movie and all this
the Mel Gibson on the line, the straight to
on the
DVD.
line.
Like that's the reference I gave you. But Psycho 4 is the best one.
Yeah.
And it's a device that works really well. It's just
Yeah.
it's been done to death now. I don't think you could do it much longer. But it's happened in real life. I mean, most famously, I think it happened on Howard Stern,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
where a
Okay.
guy
I remember
called in
that.
talking about it, and
Yep.
he acted however you're going to act or whatever. But yeah, he ended up killing people, or he was actually like a serial killer or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the whole thing about even if you thought you were a vampire, you still wouldn't do that stuff. Night 90, Robert. So obviously his situation is a nurture versus nature thing. It doesn't matter. I don't know, man. Them's are the breaks in life, dude. You could get touched 6 ways from Sunday. If you still grow up to touch people and be a weird dead, you're still going to go to prison. You're still going to pay for it. I mean, we might understand what brought you to that point and why you're fucked up in the head, but you still gotta pay for
And
it.
Still gotta pay.
that's what I'm saying when I mentioned like Amplis's performance. He's so gentle, and you
Mhm.
feel bad because you can tell he's not all there. I mean, he even
Oh, absolutely.
Kuda even says like, I'm told you are imbecile. Can you speak? And it's like everybody thinks he's kind of playing like a spectrum type of character or whatever.
Do you
But
think his condition and like him believing all this stuff and the way he is, do you think it's completely nurture based, or do you think it's that mixed with okay, he's also a little mentally not there and it just creates a bad cocktail? Or do you think this can be totally created by just warping somebody from a young
Oh,
age?
MK Ultra. Yeah, I'm sure he can.
um, I don't know. I think it's probably a little bit of both, but probably more so the nurture aspect of it. It's literally if you're told that you are a monster from the day that you're
Mhm.
born. It's like you see these kids that are are born into these abusive families that keep them in
Mhm.
cages and shit like
Yeah.
that. It's like they don't ever assimilate to regular society even when they get out of that situation because they're always going to think that they're whatever.
Mhm.
I
Um,
a side story. I remember when I was a kid. So two sides of our family, obviously a mother's side and a father's side. My father's side is like the fucked up side. That's like the side that you have all the strained relationships and wrote that person off years ago, haven't seen that person in years. My mom's side is like the Bible Belt Christian household, really great people, super okay, great. We moved around a lot because my dad was in and out of prison and stuff like that. We were always living in people's basements, whoever would take us. And there was a point where we went to go, there was a couple of points we went to go live with his mom. Like he would always be in prison, and it would be like, okay, let's go live here and set up base. Because when I get out of prison, we'll start, this is where we want to be. And my grandmother on my dad's side, when I was a little kid, she would try and brainwash us, and she would say the most heinous stuff about my mom's parents, like, oh, they're bad people, they look nice, they sound nice, but they're evil, the things they do. And I remember, had I stayed in that environment, I probably would have believed it.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
because
Yeah.
because I remember just being like, because I had history with them too. I remember being a little kid like, my Grammy's the good Grammy. But Grammy's bad. Like what? That doesn't track. Even as a little kid, my older brother totally worked on him. MK Ultra
mm,
fucking molded him. He actually divorced our family, went to go live with her. It was terrible, and he kind of got disowned. But anyway, that only lasted a few years, and then we went back to live with my other grandparents. And there was no spell to break. I'm like, oh well, she's clearly crazy. Because this woman feeds me. This woman feeds me and is good to us. Whereas the one that was spreading all those lies, she was super abusive, man. She was like one hair away from being that woman that kept us in cages. She would lock us
mm,
in rooms.
wow.
She would, we were, dude, I was in like fourth grade, fifth grade, and she would put us out in diapers and put us outside for the whole neighborhood to see, like tarred and like town square,
I've heard this story
like
before.
like town square, tar and feather, like humiliation, scarlet letter shit. And it's just like, dude, suicide in school, what are you doing? So she was like manipulated bad shit. And but yeah, I think that shit, it didn't work on us, but it worked on my brother, one of us, it
Well,
totally did.
it's like the Westboro Baptist Church or something like
Yep.
that. You see that whole clan, they stay within their own and they believe one thing, and then as soon as one escapes, and it's like they tell you all about it, you know. Um,
It's lame. Dude,
We've told this story before. I'm sure.
maybe
Sean.
Blaine way years ago, maybe,
Yeah.
but she's a crazy lady, dude. Like
Yeah.
she was we didn't have any cages. Maybe if she did, she would have put us in those. But we had at least rooms, but she was abusive and all kinds of evil, man. And it's so
Rotten
funny.
kids should be locked in
Hey,
cages.
stuff comes around, man, because her husband passed away a few years ago, and basically she's so old now, and she's like legally blind. They were going to take her house and put her in assisted living because she can't take care of herself. And she was trying to get people like, hey, come, you want to be my roommate? So she didn't have to fucking go into a home and lose what she had left. And at that point, she had burned everybody in her life. Like, no, fuck you. What? You're evil. Get out of here. Between her daughter and everybody, it's like it comes full circle. Anyway, Martin, had he lived and his bastard uncle didn't jab him in the stomach, not even the heart, what it looks like, maybe he would have come around.
We got the beautiful Miss Santini here.
Hey, she
yeah, it's
plays the horny housewife very well.
yeah.
Great. She is.
She's
really
not
good.
ugly. She's not too hot. She's very what you would think you would find someone like that in the Midwest or whatever, hasn't gotten any in a while.
It's
No, I think they cast her great. I actually like Christine in this as well. Okay, so Tom Savini does pop in here.
Yeah.
I think Tom Savini I think his best film acting wise is Knight Riders. I love Knight Riders. I think it's great.
100%.
I don't.
You don't like Night Riders?
He doesn't like it. I love Knight Riders. It's one of my favorite Romero movies.
That was like the last Romero film that I remember, like when I was younger and seeking out all his films. That was the last one I watched because I always just like, it's not a horror movie and it's really long and it's like, And then I watched it and I was just like, just blown away by it. It was like one of the only movies I watched again as soon as it was over.
Yeah.
Just the stunts and speaking of Savini and his performance in it, like when
He's
he
good.
breaks down and cries at the end, like
Yeah.
when young me that only knew Savini as like effects guy, stunt guy, fucking sex machine,
Yeah.
and then here he is in Knight Riders breaking down. You're just like, wow, like that that tore me up first time I saw it.
But I'll tell you that's the best example I could probably give anybody for a case of the runtime killing the movie. Because if that movie was
It
90 minutes,
didn't bother me at all.
if that movie was 90 minutes, yeah, I think I would have really liked it because there's enough. Yeah, there's good performances there. And the idea on paper is great. Like, oh, this is too fucking interesting not to give this a whirl. It sounds cool. But it's almost, is it damn near 2.5 hours? No
Yeah,
business.
it's
It
about two and
is.
a half
business.
hours. Yeah,
It didn't feel like it to me.
No, it
flew
did to
by.
me. It
No.
felt the thing is when you're that long, you're gonna feel twice as long. I don't know what to tell you. It's like
I
sitting
like
at
the
the drive-through.
stunts. There's something about just the feel of the film. And the score is great. And then I don't know, man.
it's
It's
a
great.
giant. If you're a Romero fan, it's a giant family reunion feel. Like
Yeah.
everybody from every
yeah.
movie before and after. It's like you got. You know,
And Stephen
Ken
King.
Foray,
Yep.
Scott, yes, Stephen King has a role in it. And if you're a wrestling fan, it is a movie about the pro wrestling business.
No.
I've tell this it's about the old school territory business. Like that's all that it is.
Yep.
And all that stuff loses its luster after the first 20 minutes. Then I'm stuck with it for another 2 hours. You know what I mean? It just needs to be shorter. That's just kind of my opinion on it.
I could see that. I think there's the little sidebar with where he's chasing the blackbird and he meets the the Indian dude in the middle. You know, it's like some of that. It's like, do we need it? Probably not. But I think
It
for
was-
the most part, it's pretty fantastic.
Hell yeah, Brad.
I'd be wanting more if it was only 90 minutes. So it's that type of movie to me where
I would rather be left wanting a little more than being over satiated. That's just my opinion. I'd rather be safe.
You talk about so Martin's a little bit of a slow burn. This is only a 90-minute film, but there
Yeah.
is actually a 2-hour and 30-minute cut of this that is
Wouldn't want to see it.
recently been found. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be everybody's cup of tea, but it's for me. It's like one of those like,
Holy
you know,
grails. I'd love to see it.
like
Absolutely.
before I die, I have to see it.
Yeah,
And it was
and
lost forever. It was lost forever. And Romero always talked about, that was the version he loved and wanted everybody to see. And it's, it's
was
black
supposed to
and
be-
white.
Wasn't it? Like it
Well,
talks on this.
It
but
wa-
then
it was it was finally discovered when they were in the middle of putting that together, and Second Sight couldn't
Oh.
get a hold of the rights because the rights are technically owned by Richard Rubenstein, but the actual physical print was owned by some random person in Berea, Kentucky. Which that's a funny story. But so went up for auction. It ended up being purchased by Greg Nicotero for $50,000.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, he ended up purchasing it and donating it to the George A. Romero Foundation. So they actually have the actual print, the 16 millimeter
they
print,
don't have the rights to.
but they don't have the rights to do anything with
Yeah.
it. So only
Hmm.
4 people that I know of have seen it, and it's Greg because he owns it, the actual print. Suzanne Romero, George's widow,
Yeah.
which is funny. John Amplis has seen it. Of course, he's
Mhm.
Martin. And then, funny enough, Patton Oswalt, the comedian,
Yeah.
because
Really?
he is apparently a huge Romero fan and a
Okay.
huge Martin fan. Like that's
Huh.
probably like I guess like it's one of his favorite movies ever. So like
Okay.
those 4 people are the only people that have seen it, but it's actually in the archive now, and there's no plans for it in the future or anything like that. But it's
Have any of
it's
those
there.
people that watched it given their honest feedback of it? For better or
I haven't
worse?
I haven't heard anything from anybody. I mean, of course, Suze is George's widow, and she watched it, and so I've never heard her say anything about it. I'll have to ask because I know Amplis is going to be at Living Dead weekend here in a few weeks. I'm going to be
Yeah.
there, so I'm going to ask him about it because I think he's seen it, and of
Yeah.
course, you can't really message Patton Oswalt and be like, hey, what do you
Yeah.
think about Martin? It's like, yeah.
Is there any way they could show it at Living Dead weekend, or no? They can't show it anywhere. Or-
See, like that's the question because the rights are technically owned by Richard Rubenstein, and the
Yeah.
print itself is so old
Oh,
that
okay.
I think they won't play the actual print, but I think it has been digitized, and I think
Oh,
Greg
that's good.
Nicotero actually does own a digital copy of it. So it's possible that you could do like
Yeah.
a private screening or something and not charge, so you can get around kind of the copyright issue or.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's a black and white because the movie was originally supposed to be in black and white, which is
Yep.
something I always kind of thought when watching this because of the lighting in certain
Mm-hmm.
parts. It's a little bright and it's a little like, whoa, this is kind of blown out a little bit. But it was actually originally all this was supposed to be a black and white film, but it was just like it wasn't feasible for the distribution company to put it out in black and white in 1977. They were just
Yeah.
like, black and white, that's, that's old school. Like, nobody wants to see that.
I just how often are director's cuts or producer's cuts really the better cuts? They're just very seldom. Was this actually hold on? Was this actually a director's cut or was this like an assembly cut? Do you know this 2.5 hour?
This was the cut that Romero preferred. It's also the cut that Gornick, who's the director of photography and worked with Romero for all those years, that was the cut he liked. Gornick actually doesn't even like the 90-minute version that we're watching. He actually prefers the black and white cut, and George, like, I would think that, but George, in any interview or commentary he ever did for Martin, always talked about that cut and was like, I wish I could find that cut because because it was lost. Like, they they screened it for somebody, I think when they were trying to raise funds for Night Riders. They took it, screened it for somebody, and then just left it there. And then it was just lost for years and years and years and was never discovered, and, until after George had already passed, unfortunately. So we never did get to see it. But I do agree with you that most of the time a director's cut is kind of, it's a little too too much.
But this is like the Metallica thing. If they found a 2.5 hour cut of something, Metallica.
Yeah, that's called all their albums since that's all their albums today. And dude, I'm that guy. I am.
Yeah, you're right. 4K. Stuff. The original cut was 4 hour, or it was like 3 to 4 or something like that. But it was literally. But it wasn't like that. Was literally like the work cut. That was just like everything that we shot cut together, and then he cut it down to 2.5 hours. Yeah, it was just everything that they'd shot. Because the thing with this film is that it was a crew of like 8 people tops, a crew of 8 people. And they would literally just run around and shoot everything, whether it looked good or not. It was just like, get me a shot of this, get me a shot of this, get me a shot of this, and just compiled it all. And it ended up being about 3 or 4 hours. But the actual cut that Romero liked was about a 2 hour 15, 2 hour and 30-minute cut. So
gotcha.
Yeah, there's always going to be an assembly cut. I mean, the short film I just did was like 2.5 times longer than we actually cut it down to, so that's pretty standard. But dude, 2.5 hours, I just feel. I don't know. I would give him the benefit of the doubt, but just I would, knowing me, like I don't.
I'd pay for it. I want to see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying I wouldn't see it, but like, would you be able to? Do you really think it would? There might be cool stuff, like the added stuff. It's like when you watch bonus scenes and stuff on a. I like them, but okay, that T2 director's cut, producer's cut, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
That thing. Okay, all of those scenes are really cool as they are by themselves. But like in the grand scheme of the whole film, when you watch it plugged in, it's just not a better movie.
But you still want to own it. You still want it. Yeah.
But they had that DVD where they forced you to watch that cut or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, look,
I remember that.
The Arnold smiling is fun.
Oh,
it's funny.
Terrible, yeah.
It's a funny meme, but it was deleted for a reason. It doesn't help the scene. It brings levity where there shouldn't be levity. And and obviously there's like the alternate timeline, all the stuff where was there some problem with their taking the chip out of his head? That's not even the direction it doesn't even match the film we're watching because it breaks up the continuity. But they include it anyway. And so it's cool to see Michael Biehn in T2.
Yeah.
But we don't need Michael Biehn in T2. I don't know. It would be neat, but I just don't think it necessarily.
Well, how much of that has to do with the fact that you became, like, you first discovered that film watching the theatrical cut? Like T2, it's like you like, I grew up on Terminator 2, so like I knew that movie from front to back, like the back of my hand. So when they add extra stuff to it, it just kind of like feels out of place because you're so used to that original cut. Kind of like the same with Dawn of the Dead when they did the quote unquote Cannes cut, director's cut of Dawn of the Dead when they put that out in the 90s. A lot of people that grew up with Dawn of the Dead throughout the 80s didn't like it. It was like, oh, it's a little slow, it could be cut down, blah blah. But that was the first version that I saw of Dawn of the Dead, was that director's cut. So that's the one I grew up on. So that's my favorite cut of that film. So how much of that has to do with just the fact that you grew up or
I think
became
you're
aware?
I think you're 100%. I think you're 100% spot on there, Alpha, because I grew up with the Dawn of the Dead theatrical cut. The VHS was my first, and I still like the other ones, but if I'm gonna pop one in, I always pop in because isn't that Romero's favorite as well too?
Yeah, that's the one he prefers. They called it the director's cut as just a marketing thing in the 90s, but the one that he actually prefers is the one, the theatrical U.S. theatrical cut.
Yeah. Which I do like him. I'm not a huge fan. The Argento cut's probably my least favorite.
Mm.
But I don't know. Yeah, I totally get what you're coming from on that.
I think it's a completely valid point, and I think that's probably true with a lot of stuff. It probably works both ways, because I think you could argue that I love watching those bonus scenes as much as I do, because I've seen the original movie so much. It was such a cool novelty to see extra stuff, but really, it wasn't that long after I saw the original movie that version was available. Like, because some of that shit they were showing on TV, like some of those scenes,
Yeah.
I don't think it was. I don't think I grew up 20 years watching the original and then I saw it. It's not. I don't know. I think you're right though. But
Blaine's spot on though. I mean, the Dumb and Dumber uncut version is terrible.
Yeah, it's not because I grew up with the good version. It's like has nothing to do with that. It's like, dude, these scenes are not funny, and they cut it down to perfection. Everything's gonna have fat. They cut it down to where it's like you're getting all killer, no filler. Hey, I got a great idea. Let's add the filler. Oh, good. It's like, dude,
that's the one. That's the one movie, Blaine. Absolutely.
And that DVD, guess what? They forced you to watch that version.
Yeah.
They marketed. They didn't give you a choice. They marketed the unrated director's cut, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to watch this. It's just terrible. But yeah, I don't know. But
go ahead.
As I get older, though, I watch stuff way more objectively. As a kid, yeah, I probably wouldn't have like broke it down. I probably thought, oh yeah, it's cool. I want to see the Arnold smiling and stuff. Oh, it's funny. But
I always like. Sorry, I'm cutting back real quick because I'm watching this. I always like the scene where he follows her home from the grocery store, and then come to find out she's two-timing her husband or whatever.
And the guy's like, "Hey, it's not what it looks like. I don't know him."
This is probably one of my favorite like sequences in any Romero film, is this upcoming sequence, because it's like everything is so specific. The bulb, make sure that's off, and it builds and builds and builds, and then it almost takes a left turn into like, oh, she's having an affair with some other guy, but he thinks that that's her husband, but she's like, I don't know. It's like you said, and then the telephone thing where she's trying to call for help, but he's on the other line fucking it up. Like, it took something that could have been really simple and something that could have been simply done, and made it this like cat and mouse game for like 10-15 minutes.
I think in that scene, I think the dilemma is very realistic as far as, right, he stuck me, call somebody. I can't, my husband will find out. That's a natural thing to go through your head.
Yeah,
but it's fuck her, because what are the cops going to do? Tell your husband he's out of town? Like, I think you could take him to the hospital or call an ambulance. He's nowhere to be found. I think maybe the neighbors will talk. Maybe that's
that's the thing. They don't want the ambulance and all that. The neighbors finding out, I guess. So that's why they try to call the hospital to let them know that they're on their way, type of thing.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, it's small towns, nosy neighbors. Everybody knows everybody.
And I've actually been to this house in Pittsburgh, and
really?
Yeah, it's still there, and it looks pretty much the same. I haven't been inside, but the outside, pretty much everything looks the same. I'd love to get inside just to take a look and see what the architecture. Yeah, you know it. See what the architecture looks like now. But apparently, the people that own it now are never home. Like, they're just never home. So nobody. I don't know anybody that has ever actually been inside yet. So.
I've always been fascinated with these people that buy up these properties and allow you to rent them out and sleep in them. And like, I watched a thing where somebody was staying in it in the Brady's Bunch home.
Did you watch that? I just watched that.
I did watch.
Man, that thing is awesome, dude.
And you know what? I think there was something about it to where it wasn't 100% original. They had to like do some restorations.
Yeah, they did, but it looks, man, spot on.
And they show you they show you how real, like, this is how small this house is. It's like you don't really get a grasp of that on TV. And I'm like, and just, I would love that. Even though I'm not like a huge Brady Bunch guy, I would love
Brady Bunch.
I would love to lay on Mike Brady's couch. Hopefully he didn't fuck any guys on it, but I would lay on Mike Brady's couch, and I would just, I was just like, I would have a pinch me moment. Like, I mean, this is kind of, I'm one to talk about the guy on the couch, because I was sitting there fantasizing about me and Todd having a sleepover there. That's okay. But anyway, but like, can you imagine if like we rented that place and I'm sleeping on the couch and you're on the floor?
You and Todd on the couch in the Brady Bunch house.
No,
there's
separate beds, right?
Yeah.
He's on the floor. That's the hierarchy. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, but I just mentioned, like, how cool would it be to be laying there in the middle of the night and be like, "Hey, Todd, yeah, you sleeping? No, man. can you believe that we're sleeping in the Brady house right now? Just like looking around, hearing the clocks. Like
I'm
this
gonna
is
sleep in
fucking
Bobby's
surreal.
bed tonight.
Yeah. So I've wanted to do that with like, so I would do that for so many houses, even like the
Yeah.
haunted ones, the people that exploit like the
Oh,
Bliss
yeah.
house murders and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's so fascinating to me. And I know even if it's bullshit, it's a great idea and I would love to do it.
Oh yeah, great memory. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway. So good.
No, he's playing cat and mouse. I love these black and white cutaways too. We didn't really
They're
talk
great.
about those. They're
I
so
kind of
Yeah.
good,
felt
man.
if the whole movie was in black and white, it would hurt this. I kind of like the contrast.
I
Personally.
do
Yeah.
like the cutaways. No, I'm with you on that.
You know what I mean? It would be a little more jarring, or maybe like not a little too subtle if it was, all black and white. I don't know,
I could see that.
but I don't know what it is about this particular scene, this particular house, and the way he looks like a dirty, filthy hippie. But this gives me Manson family vibes,
Yeah.
just like him breaking entry, and
Well, yeah, he looks like one of the Manson family
Yeah.
members in fucking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with that
Yeah.
that one girl. I can't. Why didn't you say that? That's immediately what I thought of. I was like, holy shit. Or the guy that plays Tex, or one of those types in the all black and the long sleeve.
I love it. Yeah, this is the scene, man. This guy, look, I get it. Easier said than done. A guy's coming at me with a needle. What would I do? But I think this guy pussed out. Like, why are you letting this little skinny bitch?
I'm surprised
like,
the guy didn't run out the door and just leave her be.
I guess you don't realize.
I didn't know. I don't know her.
It's just so different. Like you don't expect, like you get broken in your most vulnerable moment after you just got through, laying some pipe
on your spouse and whatever.
and all of a sudden some kid jumps over and hits you with a syringe of whatever you don't even know, and then just runs out. And you're just like, it's a little disorienting, I'm sure, but that guy that plays him his name's Al Levitsky, and he was actually a porn actor around this time.
really?
There's quite a few pornos with him in it, so that's why he was, and he was begging George when they were shooting, because she's butt ass naked. He was begging George to be completely nude in the scene as well, chasing Martin around the house butt ass naked. And George was just like, no, it's just not that kind of movie, Al, not that kind of movie.
Okay, but why isn't Jonathan Lipnicki going after Martin here? Why isn't he like, he's a big dude? Like, I get it, he got pricked, but like, dude, I saw how big that guy was. I'm gonna go. They're just like spending all his time in the room arguing. Like, he could still be in the house, Like, I just think he should show a little machismo, man. He's got a big dick.
That's where the LA AIDS jabber movie came from. Is this movie?
Hey, maybe. But yeah, the whole scene's very, very cool. But you know why it's so cool? Because yeah, I break it apart like I am. I keep asking, like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Why doesn't he go? He's there. That's good. I think it's great because in these weird situations that you hope you don't find yourself in.
And
you
I love
probably would make
the architecture of the house itself is disorienting because you don't. It's not like you're running down a hallway into the kitchen. It's just like you're going down these steps. There's windows everywhere, but then you're going into this room and there's windows there, but there's not over here. So you don't really know where these people are in this house, and that's why the house was chosen. The location was picked just for that simple reason, is that it's so disorienting. It's just like, where the hell am I? That's why I want to get inside that fucking house to see
the
what
architecture is awesome, man. No, I'm with you on that.
The whole time though, I'm watching the scene, I'm like, man, he sure is taking his sweet time doing everything else in the world except finding a blunt object to use as a weapon, because he's just walking around. I get he's freaking out, but dude, grab something. You're in a kitchen now. I wouldn't have left the bedroom without ripping off a fucking towel holder on the bathroom or whatever to come out of that room with. But he's hanging out in the bathroom.
But I guess it's a question. I guess it's a question of what would you be more in panic about: the fact that somebody is in the house, or the fact that they jabbed you with something syringe and you don't know what it is, and you don't know if you're about to die or pass out or what's about to happen.
Well,
you're kind of in the middle of both.
This is pre-AIDS. So what is there to freak out about? Like maybe Drano? Well, like Drano, there's bleach, But yeah, like what did he put in me? Like, oh, it's not AIDS. We're good. Okay, let me go find a knife and let me fucking hunt.
This is in the 80s. It's still 77.
That's what I'm saying. It's the epidemic. But yeah, like if somebody sticks you with something, even if there is no AIDS, like he didn't stick me with Kool-Aid. What the hell is it? It's gotta be something.
Stick him with air. It's your heart's gonna explode anyway. So yeah,
is that how that works? Like,
yeah.
Where'd he get stabbed?
I don't know where he stabbed him, but
is it gonna make your heart explode if you get air in the shoulder?
Yeah, you inject somebody with air. Yeah,
wow.
Gets in your bloodstream.
Note to self. I'm just kidding. That's I didn't know that. Yeah, this whole scene, it's great. This is the best part of the movie.
This is like so to me Romero's strong suit
I love that.
is as an editor.
I love the dual exit doors opening on both sides because
Yeah.
that's so old.
And the
I've looked
shot
at,
from over above.
yeah. That's the only way you could film this shot. The quarters are so cramped.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because I've lived in those houses with the two doors and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very cool, man. I miss these kind of homes.
Yeah, they don't build homes like this anymore.
Hey, you know what's funny?
It's pretty much standard now.
We just watched him unlock the door, and he clearly didn't come through the front door, right? This is in the days where nobody locked their doors. They just didn't.
Oh no. Even in the 90s I never locked the doors.
Even in like small towns, like you just didn't lock your doors because you just didn't expect. Everybody had like a moral code about them. You didn't expect this, and it usually took an event like this to rattle the town.
Yeah.
Like shit. Okay, so maybe
Not
in the wake of
suburban America, no.
maybe in the wake of the Manson family, maybe some people started doing that, right? But
Oop.
look at those walls, dude. Is that
Those are awesome, dude.
Is that wallpaper?
That's wallpaper all the way.
I guess
yeah.
wallpaper.
They even
is
wallpapered the door. I don't know if you noticed, but even the door is wallpapered.
Wallpaper has made a little bit of a comeback, and my wife wants to do wall. I'm like, fuck no, we're not going back to wallpaper. Like, there's certain things I'm okay with leaving in the past.
Come on.
Oh, you want maroon color carpet?
The shag carpet.
The wood panel bar. Yeah.
So
grab that lamp.
Alpha, you said you went to Living Dead weekend. Have you ever met Tom Savini? And what were your thoughts on?
Yeah, please do tell.
Because we have our own story. We have our own story.
Don't taint him. I want to hear his.
I've met Tom on multiple occasions. So the first time I met Tom was actually in 2008 at Texas Frightmare Weekend. It was the 40th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead. They had everybody there. It was my first convention, first time meeting all my heroes. George was there. I was just like, holy shit, like I'm meeting everybody. I was like 19 at the time. I'm like, I'm meeting all my heroes. I get there, and the first person I go up to was Tom Savini. And I was like, oh my God, it's Tom Savini. I cannot wait. So I go up. Actually, this was after. The first person I ever talked to was actually Greg Nicotero on the way into the thing. But during a panel, Nicotero and Savini were doing a Q&A. And I was the first one to ask a question. They kind of bantered back and forth for a while. And then Savini was just like, okay, so let's open it up. Does anybody have any questions? And I didn't raise my hand or anything. I was just nervous, just kind of like, oh my God, I can ask Savini a question finally. My goal in life is to ask him questions. And the only question I could think of was, what was it like working with Joe Spinell from Maniac?
Yeah, yeah.
And he pointed at me and was like, scolded me with, raise your hand. And I was just like, okay. And he was like, okay, now ask your question. And I was like, what was it like working with Joe Spinell? And he was like, thank you for asking. And then he went on about his thing.
Oh my God.
So I was like, oh my God, I just got shouted down by Tom Savini.
Fucking hate Tom Savini. Okay.
Well, I still gotta get an autograph. So I went to his table, and you couldn't be more disinterested in anything as Tom Savini would have been meeting me or anybody else. Meeting me at any point in time since anytime I go to his table, it's just kind of like, hey, yeah, okay, whatever, kid, see you later. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. But I bumped into him in the hotel lobby at Living Dead Weekend, which the hotel was right across from the mall. I bumped into him in the hotel lobby, and you couldn't ask for a nicer guy. He just bumped into me, and he was just like, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Oh, hey, nice shirt. Are you going to be at the show tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. He's like, oh, that's awesome. I'll see you there. I'm like, okay. And he walked off, and I looked at my fiance. I was just like, that was Tom Savini. And she was like, I don't know who that is. I was like, he's like the greatest effects artist of all time, but he's usually an asshole. But he was like the coolest. And then I meet him the next day at the thing, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what do I got to do? Like, what? So yeah, he's hot or cold, but if you're paying him for an autograph, he's not going to be. Most of the time, he's not going to be too. Unless you have a hot side piece. If you got a woman with you, he'll light up and start tap dancing like he's all about it.
That's our story. Yeah, he's a dick, dude. I understand people have bad days, But this guy has too much of a record of just having a lot of bad days. And I don't think anybody should be hot and cold. I think you can be hot and cold every now and again. But like for you, even if it was 50-50, like that's too much, man. And if like he was cool and nonchalant in the hallways, or you can't, okay, so he's relaxed. So you mean to tell me when he's surrounded by a lot of people, he really fucking hates life? Then stop doing them.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I mean?
know.
We came up to him when there was nobody in his line, empty, desolated. The guy was an asshole. He was just talking to, I don't even know if it was his handler or just
His
like a piece he
handler.
picked up.
Yeah.
But he had picked up pieces over the weekend. This guy was fucking everything that I don't know. But yeah, he was like, what did he say? Excuse me. We came up to him, to his table, his booth.
We
Excuse
get an
me.
autograph.
Can you? He's like, can you see that I'm talking to this lovely woman right here? He was at his table talking to Sam. I'm like, can you see that I'm talking to? I'm like, usually when you assholes go on break, you leave your fucking table. Are you on break? What the fuck are you doing? Filthy, greasy motherfucker. Like I was like,
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why he is that way, but I know people that know him personally that will just vouch that he's just the sweetest, nicest guy. But
I'm sure if you know him and you're in his clique, yeah, he's probably a certain way. I could smell the grease in his hair.
So a funny story after that, we're like, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's get an autograph because we were gonna, have a giveaway on our show. So we send my wife and his mom, who was right here, to go get an autograph. And what did he say to you, Denise? He said something, pissed him off. He treated him like shit or something. So they just came back.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. No, they went to go pay for an autograph to get your VHS signed or whatever. Like maybe night 90, we're gonna give it away, and just just an absolute asshole, dude. I mean, don't go to those things, and just don't go to them. Like if you're gonna be a dick, and I don't care.
he does
I'm not
all of them. Any convention that will have him, he's there. And that's the funny thing about it. He's just like, yeah, I'll be there.
You know why? Because that is his full-time job now. That's no one's hiring him anymore. I don't know if he's like choosing to retire or if just Greg Nicotero took all his work or what, but he doesn't get work anymore. And there's a lot of these guys that they are full-time con roaches. They're con cockroaches, and that's cool. You have certain people that are obviously it's supplemental income to fill in the gaps. The people that cancel all the time when they have another job come in, that are always can. But then you have the people that are there without fail. You have Kane Hodder with there without fail. He lives at those things. You have people that do it right, like Felissa Rose, who probably was selling trailer homes to white trash before the con circuit came around, and she created like a new career out of it.
Yeah,
and
she's great. Yeah.
And she's like, she does it right. She milks it, but she knows I got to be cool with it because it's like this beats what I was doing before. I did one movie 50 years ago, and like you're telling me now, I can.
You would think if that was like your main source of income, though, you would kind of have a rap, just be like, hey, what's going on, But like Savini's just like he's there. He's like he's being held hostage. He's just like I can't leave, and it's just like
you
make
make those guys.
Shit, dude.
The amount of money they make for what they're doing is insanity. It's like, dude, you better
especially now. But I will say that's the one thing about Savini, though. I will say is that he usually only still to this day only charges like $20-$30 at the most for anything. Like if you buy something off his table, he'll sign anything else you got. But
except when we want to give him money to do it. I mean, like that's why I'm confused. I mean,
but if you give him money to do it, he'll be a dick to you, but he'll sign it.
Dude, if
I
that
him
was
sign,
me,
so you see this Day of the Dead, Making a Day of the Dead book
I have
back here.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
I have it signed by as many people in the cast crew that I could get. So when I took it to Savini, it already had like quite a few signatures all over the inside cover of it. So I took it to Savini to have him sign it. He opened it and just in as big as possible, just signed over everybody else's fucking signatures. And it was just like, all right, here you go.
Oh, that's brutal.
And I was just like,
what a dick, dude.
I was just like,
seriously,
like he just didn't cross his mind to just be like,
no, you can't play that off because like, dude, you sign shit for a living.
And people are going to these shows are so meticulous about where it goes and stuff like that. Just be nice, be like, hey, what do you want me to sign? The
best. I mean, and Savini. The thing about Savini too is like if you're an artist and you show him something that you've done, or you want to talk to him about something that he's interested in, like an old movie or something that he's interested in, he'll open up a little bit. But for the love of fucking God, do not ask him about anything that he ever worked on. If you ask him about Dawn of the Dead or Martin or Maniac or anything, he's
Yeah.
just like, yeah. The most
Oh,
common
because
response
we
that he'll say is
love
like, oh, it's
Theater
the
Bizarre. Because we love fucking
Oh
Theater
yeah,
Bizarre.
you didn't
That's
tell him
why
about
we're
that
there.
yet. Yeah.
The fuck? That was expecting.
But yeah, he's just not. He just couldn't care less about his own career. It's kind of like John Carpenter at this point. If you meet John Carpenter, if you ask him about his career, he's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
fucking whatever. Like,
Hey,
I don't remember anything about it.
but John Carpenter seems more down to earth and really nice to regular folks. He doesn't see, and he just signed a big contract. He's gonna be hitting the con circuit for hardcore in the next few years.
Really?
Yeah, he just signed. He just signed with an agency. He's one of these con
Oh.
agencies. He's booked for the next few years, man. And I'm looking forward to it because I would love to meet John Carpenter. I think
Yeah,
he's really
I've never met
rad.
John Carpenter, but
I
like I've always heard some kind of similar stories to Savini where he can just kind of rub people the wrong
Yeah.
way. But it's fucking John Carpenter. Like,
yeah,
I still
Like,
never
say
got
what
to
you
meet
want,
Romero. Aaron got to meet Romero. That was on my bucket list. I never got to meet him. And
I just think like you said, if this is what you're doing for a living, basically now, dude, word travels. Like me and Todd have been talking about our experiences with Tom Savini for 10 years in this damn show. And so
Yeah.
even if we've polluted 100 people with that notion, 200 people, whatever, like that's damaging. And on the flip side, you take a guy like Jason David Frank, who lived on the cons his last 10 years of his life, the Green Power Ranger guy, right? That guy did it right because that guy made a whole industry around himself, banked, and nobody ever got exhausted him. He was doing everything. You
Oh,
would
yeah.
think that
Well, that's
you
why
think
you
there's
look at
fatigue.
you look at like a Kane Hodder or Felissa Rose.
Yeah.
It's like people have
Yeah.
met these people 100 times, but they will always go back because they have a good experience when they do meet them.
Well,
Because
Kane
they
Hodder
know
was an
how
asshole to
to.
me. Kane Hodder was an asshole
Oh,
to me.
well,
But
that's one of the
uh,
only rare. Okay, like most people that meet Kane Hodder are like, oh, he's super cool, super, but he's still
he at least
almost
put you in a
charged up the
headlock.
ass.
he almost broke my fucking neck, dude. When I found, yeah,
I've heard
like,
of him doing that to other people too.
He
Actually,
used to do that all the time.
apparently he can't do it now for liability. He doesn't do it anymore.
imagine.
But dude, he put us both in a headlock.
Yeah.
And just, dude, he fucking hurt me. Like, dude,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing? Anyway, I met Romero. I went to a con out here like I don't know, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, and whatever. It was literally the year before he died, so maybe
Yeah.
maybe not that long ago.
2017.
I went not far off, but I went there, to get Todd an autograph. I just paid the day fee to go in and walked around a little bit, checked everybody out, and I went to and I saw Romero, and I just don't get bent out of shape out of famous people. But I like the art, I like the product, like Tom Savini. Like I love Dawn of the Dead. I don't give a fuck about you, right? I love what you did.
Vinny's work is phenomenal.
But I love your work. It's like, but it has nothing. It's like if you disrespect me, dude,
Yeah.
I need to. If I shit my hand, you better eat the corn out of it. I'm here giving you money. You know what I mean? Like, it's just I don't give a shit who you are. But anyway, so Romero, it was great to be able to meet him. When I met him, I didn't know he was going to die within the year, but he was in a bad way. And his wife was there acting as his handler, and I remember I went there. Granted, I think it was a Sunday, but still, it's a slow day. The place is empty, and nobody's at his table. Nobody's at his table, and I'm just like, how is nobody here?
Yeah.
Like there's people here, but they're not here. He needs to have a lot. A flip side, you have someone like Linda Blair, Sunday or not, lined around the fucking corner. I'm like, which I get. Linda Blair is awesome, but Romero, my God, like nobody.
Godfather of zombie genre.
I remember he had an end table, and then there was another table on the other end, so they were on the corner, and he was here, and then on the table next to him was the dude who played in Night 90 remake, the gas key guy from that, the chubby guy.
Tom Towles.
Not Tom Towles, the young guy.
William Butler.
Yeah.
William
Sorry.
Butler.
Yeah, he was there, and he had, pun intended, he had some gas in his tank, sugar in his tank, not gas. He's a little interesting guy, but he was nice, dude. He had a fucking which night.
I've heard some things about William Butler. I know people that have worked with him, and I've heard some stories.
Which Friday the 13th movie was he in again? Which one?
Was it Jason Goes to Hell? Was that the one?
No, before. Was it 6 or 7? I can't quite remember. He was in one of them. They kind of
It
blur
could
to me after 5.
be.
Look it up.
Yeah, kind of the same
But
for me.
he had an awesome display of screen use mask in a shadow box and a plaque. And he was selling it for like $500. And I'm like, man. And at the time, I'm like $500, fuck. But and when I left that con, I'm like, that really wasn't a bad price. Like, these are awesome screen. You're like, how did he get this
Yeah.
shit? And I'm like, dude, I wanted to go back, but I don't know, man, if I trust that guy
Sean
as far
Clark
as like,
probably has them all in his basement right now, actually.
yeah, I know. Oh yeah, I love his channel. Yeah, he's left nothing for anybody else. It makes you want to get out of any collecting anything. But anyway, and then next to him was Doyle from the Misfits, and they were just kind of him and
Oh wow.
him and the Friday the 13th guy. I can't spit out. They were just kind of like chatting, and I love the Misfits, and I was a little too shy to go up and talk to Doyle, even though nobody's there. Nobody's there. He's just standing there with his shirt off. He's in full Doyle makeup.
That's awesome.
He's full makeup, no shirt.
Hmm.
And I wanted to go up to him, but I don't want to buy anything. I don't give a shit. I don't buy shit from people. I don't fucking.
Mhm.
But like, and you kind of feel like, oh, is it rude to just go up and shoot the shit with someone if you're not going to buy something? And I'm like, I would have loved to have said stuff to him because I love
Part 7, The New Blood.
Yeah, okay. I would have loved to have said something
Okay.
to him, but he seems like such a curmudgeon, like a New York asshole. I'm like,
See,
I was
that was my issue with Joe Pilato. I never met Joe Pilato because I felt the same way. Like he was at that same Texas Frightmare weekend, and Pilato was there, and I'd met everybody else there. I mean, the whole cast from Night of the Living Dead was there,
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead. Like I met everybody, but Pilato was there, and for some reason I was so fucking intimidated because he was just like in full Joe Pilato mode. Like,
yeah.
just like, and you're just like, I don't, because I already fucking had the Savini experience, so I was like, I don't want to go up to Pilato, and because you kind of got the vibe like he might be a dick, so I was like, I'll just, I'll get him next time on the next round. I never did fucking meet him, but then it turns out like everybody that I know is just like, oh, Joe is the coolest fucking guy you'll ever meet. Like, and I'm
I'd
just
love
like,
to meet him, man. I wish he was still alive.
It's
man.
totally
Yeah.
possible that that
like
sort
he
of
would just
body-
shout, he would just shout like lines from the movie, if like lines from Day of the Dead to fucking Gary Clark, Laurie Cardell. And just the whole day, just spouting lines back and forth between the actors. I'm like, who else does that now?
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And I think it's totally possible where you can totally get past the body language that people are getting off, and it's totally like, oh, okay, it's just a resting bitch face. It doesn't mean
Right.
anything. But like Doyle had that kind of like, he doesn't look like he's very nice, and he doesn't look like he wants to be here. And but also it didn't help that I had just read an interview with Doyle where they were talking about the state of the music industry. He's like, now we all have to fucking do meet and greets to make ends meet. I don't want to fucking meet anybody. You think I want to meet you guys? I
That's
don't want to meet anybody.
welcoming.
I'm like, oh, well, I don't think he wants to be here either. And I don't think he wants to meet me here. But anyway, so I went to Romero and nobody's there. And I walked up to Romero and I picked out an 8x10, and Todd picked the worst one to pick, by the way.
Well, I
Which
didn't
one?
know.
It was the one where he's
the Day
surrounded
of
by
the
all the
Dead.
Day of the Dead zombies and
But
it blown out. It just wasn't the best image.
That's the exact same one I got too.
Oh, really?
It's up there on the wall, but yeah.
So I didn't know it wasn't glossy or anything like that. It needed to be trimmed on the sides.
Mhm.
And he sent it to me. The thing got warped.
It got rained on in post.
In the post, yeah. So the signatures
Good
all
old
smeared.
USPS. There you
It
go.
was like melted away.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is all like So it was ruined, completely ruined. So yeah.
But my takeaway from this is I walked up to George and I paid for my autograph, and he wasn't really talkative. He wasn't it's kind of like making noises and stuff. But he was there, a classic vest, smelled like fucking mothballs and Marlboros or whatever, and he smelled exactly like I envisioned. Like he smells like everyone's grandpa. I loved it.
Yeah.
He met my expectations there. But
yeah, he was probably pretty. You said this is 2017 because I mean he passed away in 2017, so he was.
Oh, he was not a good. When he signed the autograph, his wife had to help him. His wife,
wow.
yeah. So he was shaking, and his wife picked up his hand, and she put the pen in his hand, and she gripped his hand for him, and she maneuvered. I'm like, what is this Joe Biden shit? Like pardoning me right now. What is like? Is this really a Romero autograph at this point? But but she guided his hand, held the big fat.
It was a good looking signature, though. I give him that.
Yeah.
I mean, from what was left of the waterlogged picture.
How do you know that really wasn't the signature? That water, that's just what it was.
Yeah.
But no, but anyway, so that was fine. He wasn't super talkative. I think he was just sort of smiling and nodding. He wasn't really. And then I asked him, there was nobody. This place was nobody, was tumbleweeds. And I said, hey, can I, what did I say? Oh, I got a picture. He gave a picture with his autograph, I think. So I got a picture with him, and I'm sitting next to George, and I got my whole thing, and that was great because it's one of those ones I get to go behind the table. I think those ended. Now you got to like hang out awkwardly in front, but I got behind, sat with them, and it's a great photo. He's smiling, you know. So it's not. I don't hold it against him. I just think he was doing the best
He
he
just
could.
probably wasn't the best of health,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
around that time period. Because I mean, that was 6, 7 years removed from Survival of the Dead. He hadn't been working, and he was just kind of
Yeah.
cons were kind of the only thing left that he was really doing.
So I got a great picture, and I came there with a buddy. Who just wanted to get a picture with Romero too, because he had met him before, but I think he had lost it. He's like, I just got to get another one to fill. And so it's like, oh, come with me or whatever. And then while I'm sitting there with him saying cheese, we take our picture. I'm like, oh, thanks, George. And I'm like, hey, there's nobody here. Like, do you mind if my friend comes in? Can we get a picture of my friend too? Okay, now that's like giving shit for free. Uh-oh. And then I'm kind of the asshole because I put a guy in a situation like, God, now because he didn't really have a handler besides his wife. And I get why you have a handler, because you let them be the assholes to look like the transactional person. So
Yeah.
you know, and I'm sitting there with him, and I got him in a moment in the photo, and he just goes like he's I don't know if he was grimacing at my question on what do I do, or grimacing because that's all he could do at this point in his life. But he goes, oh, all right. He did that.
Oh.
And the only reason I even bothered to do it is like, I get it. I wouldn't dare ask that if there's people around. Like, I don't want to set a precedent. And of course, I'm not going to put him in that, but there was nobody around. And I just kind of like, and you could tell he was going through his head, like, fine, you know? And so I did. I got a picture of my buddy and us too, and he's there and he's smiling, you know. But I kind of felt bad about that, but not really.
You'd probably be like, you're a fucking cheapskate. That's what I would have told you.
I'm like, yeah, his friend, like the freeloader.
Yeah.
But I did regret that was when he was selling a bunch of scripts, obviously reprinted screenplays, you know, for the cons, and he was autographing like Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead scripts or whatever. He might have had like a Martin in there, I don't know. But you know, I think I shunned away from it. It's like, it's not like it's an original script. But then I never felt such remorse as me walking out of the con, like literally walking to my car. I'm going to regret that. I feel like I should go back in there, and I couldn't stop walking to my car. I'm like, no, I should go back, but I can't bring myself to go back. And now and he died. And I'm like, God, I really wish I had. I don't care if it's
I bought one of those, Aaron.
Oh yeah. It's
there
those.
you go.
And they all had
Howard
different
Sherman.
And they all had different colors, right? You know, different like cover pages colors.
That's
And
awesome.
I just regretted it. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. That's not original. I should have got it. I should have got a Dawn one. So where did you get yours?
I got mine off of eBay.
What did you pay, if you don't mind me asking?
It wasn't expensive. I think it was like $70 or something.
He might have only been charging 50
for both signatures. So
really,
yeah,
I might have
bad at all.
I might have to look around, but but I also don't care about having stuff signed, especially if I didn't if I didn't see him do it. It's like, it's just material. But anyway, where are we at in the movie? Sorry, we went on a Romero tangent there, but that was good.
Surprised he heard you because he was also deaf in one ear at that one point.
That could be, yeah.
Hey, which ear was it? I can tell you which side I was on.
Left ear, I think it was.
Oh, I was on his
I remember
right
when
side.
I met him, he kept doing this. He kept and then doing the ear thing.
Oh,
and he'd be like, huh? Or so he may have been deaf in his right ear, so he was listening to through his left ear.
Well,
but
I could see his eyes out of my peripheral, and he was kind of looking around, and like I said, he was contemplating, and he was like, for a guy that couldn't hear me very well, he went, oh, all right. He answered me with a lot of trepidation and hesitation.
I would have told you to fucking pound sand. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I just got done.
40, bitch. This is,
this is
a horror con. Nothing's free. What are you talking about?
He might not. I don't
freeloader.
He might not have included. I just got done by giving.
I honestly don't think George would have really given a shit. When I met him, when I met him in 2008, it was probably like 9-8 years before you did. In much better shape. He was just promoting Diary of the Dead. He just finished Diary. He was there promoting that, and of course it was the 40th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead, so they had a screening and everything. And I've never seen a guy just sit and with a line, complete opposite experience, a line. It took me 2 or 3 hours standing in line to get to him.
Mm.
A line around the building. And he sat there from the time he first got there, sat there until the time that the convention closed. Didn't get up. I didn't see him get up fucking once
Wow.
or take a break or anything. He was just there signing, and was just like, I walked up to him, and of course I'm like, the whole time I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I gonna say? Like, don't fanboy, don't freeze. Like, think of something. What would be? This is your opportunity to ask your idol, one thing. Like, ask him something, say something.
Yeah.
Leave him with something. And so I get up there and I'm trying to think. I'm like, okay, I got the perfect. I don't remember what it was, but I got the perfect thing to ask him. And I finally get up there and he looks at me and he's just like, "Hi, what's your name?" And I fucking froze. I was like,
Oh,
I'm
no.
your biggest fan. The most fanboy thing you could say. I'm your biggest fan. And he was just like, "Oh wow, well it's great to meet you," blah blah blah.
Well,
And
that's cool.
I didn't
you're the
ask
100th
him
one I've met today.
Exactly. It's like, yeah. Didn't ask him shit. Didn't do anything. It was just like, holy shit, I froze. And then I got his autograph, got the fucking picture. And I think I mentioned something as like, "You've inspired me. I want to make films one day because of you." And he's just like, "Oh wow, that's great. Well, when you finish it, when you finish your first film, send it to me. I want to see it." He heard that 1,000 times that day too. And so I walked away and I was just like, holy shit, like I just met George Romero. And yeah, and but he was just like the nicest, like, 'cause
Yeah.
you hear that shit 1,000 times. I'm your biggest fan, and he acted like, "Oh wow, I've never heard that before," that type of thing. He
Yeah.
kind of eased you a little bit by saying that instead of just being like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that kid." He didn't Savini me where he was just like, "Oh wow."
He needs to teach Savini how to talk to people. I mean,
Teach him some
He's good.
fucking manners, dude.
Or Nicotero. Nicotero's
Yeah.
the same way because Nicotero's just as big of a fan of the shit as you are.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Nicotero's just happy to be there too.
Yeah.
Like Living Dead weekend, he's just there to be at the mall. Like, he's just happy to be like, "Oh shit, like I'm at the Monroeville Mall. Like, this is fucking awesome," But you're like, dude, you're a multi-millionaire. Like, you've done everything there is to do in fucking effects. Like, but he's just like, "Oh yeah, but this is the coolest thing ever." Those are the best people to meet at conventions are the
Absolutely.
fans, like, that are just as big of fans as you are. If they're just like actors who did it one time like years ago and don't really remember shit about it and they're just there to sign their name, it's just like,
Yeah, it's funny because we went to the con. One of our old hosts, Stephen Jeffries, was there. He ended up taking us out to breakfast, and we got to hang out with Stephen Jeffries, which is funny. And then my old co-host,
He blew him.
He kissed him goodbye on the lips, dude.
Sorry. Telephone game.
Whoa,
I
that story went.
that's how rumors
took a
start.
little
I need to
bit.
get my facts straight.
No, but it was.
It's a very thin line between blowing somebody and kissing them. So
No.
I get it.
I thought it was fun.
You just say what he kissed. I just put two and two together. Jeez.
No, but Stephen Jeffries is an awesome guy. He was fun to hang out. He bought me breakfast, so I mean, what can you say?
Hey, can't
It's
be
typically
good.
what you do after you. I'm just kidding.
He
No,
didn't have a ride.
He was
didn't
a
have
gentleman.
car.
He was a real
didn't have
gentleman.
car. He was like, "Hey, can you take me over to Waffle House?" So we went to Waffle House. He bought me lunch. Yeah, it was great.
That's usually where I take the ladies after a long night.
There you go.
Hey River.
Going to
So
Waffle House.
commercial lube or did he spit in his hand? Which kind of guy was he?
Just
No,
gave
I'm
him one of the old.
I've never seen any of his videos, so
I don't want to. That's
No.
okay. No, he seemed like a really nice guy.
yeah, he was great.
But yeah, no. So I just have to put it out there. So Romero, I think he was just a product of his condition. I think he was super nice, and even the reaction I got, the hesitation, it could have been down to the way his mannerisms were. He probably had to think about it. For all I know, if he was healthy, it would have translated to, all right, no one's around. Come on, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it was just, but like
Well, it's
he's
also
smiling.
I don't know where conventions were at that time, but I know the way they are now. That shit's very strict, like in terms of like charging people, because you have certain guarantees that you need to meet, or the promoter has to pay
has to make it up.
So back then, like back when I met him in 2008, it was
Yeah.
just like it was like $20, and he would sign anything you had, take as many pictures. But now it's like,
Yeah.
oh, if you want a
Capitalism.
picture, oh yeah, it's
ruined it. It's
insane
ruined
now.
it.
Yeah.
It used to be so much fun, and when we were going, it was fun back when they would have them in like small hotels, and like
Mhm.
we talk about our experience meeting Savini. This isn't the day where all the guests are staying in the same fucking rooms we are in the same floor of the same hotel.
We used
You
to
know,
party with all the guests.
now they're not even staying in those hotels, which I get.
Mm.
You know, they're like staying in other hotels, nicer places. But we had Savini, like so we had our experience with him, and then we had a buddy at the time. Well, no, he wasn't our buddy. We had split apart, but he was at the same convention. He had done like a short film that we were a part of, and then we left it over this film, and it turned into a shit show. And then this was like his version of the film, and it was a piece of shit. That's a side note. But he's like, oh, they were all partying with Savini in his hotel room. And then we went up to like whatever hall it was in the second floor, and his doors open like at some fraternity. And we walk in the fucking Ramada Inn, and then there's a bunch of people sitting like cucks in the corner watching Theater Bazaar with them. And then Savini's in the bed like Scarface with 2 or 3 bitches around his arms.
Yeah, he had a lot. He had like 3 women.
And I'm in a Ramada Inn, 2 feet from Savini.
We walk in and Savini's,
and he's in bed with bitches, and there's these random awkward hanger-oners.
It's like that scene in Knight Riders where he's got the ladies. He's kind of resting on the fucking Knight Rider logo. Yeah.
Anyway, so we come in at the end of Theater Bazaar, and it's quiet as mouse. Everybody's watching it. Like I said, these are hanger-oner fans that they're just here because of Tom. Yeah. Ooh, I can't believe I'm in the same hotel room as Tom. Maybe I can use the toilet he shits in, whatever. And as soon as Theater Bazaar ends, I'll never forget our buddy Lush used to be piece of shit. He goes, amazing! Oh my god, Tom, brilliant! And I'm like, and I'm literally like, are we watching the same movie? I don't give a shit if he's 2 feet away from me. Like, what? And then Tom Savini, you could tell he's like peasants. He's like entertaining them, but he's just there for the bitches. He wants everybody to get out of his room so the bitches stay. But anyway, he's like entertaining everybody. And I'll just never forget that. And I remember talking to him thinking, yeah, I was like, I'm like best friends with him now. He's so great. I think I'm going to ask him to get a signature, get a quote from my film. And I was like, yeah, you do that. You let me know how that fucking goes.
How much money it's going to cost.
And sure enough, he gave him a quote like, oh yeah, for this much money. Like, I told you, dude, nobody that greasy does anything for free.
Let me guess. The quote was the most fun you can have standing up. Was that the quote? Because that's Tom's quote for everything. If you ask him about anything, what was it like working on Dawn of the Dead? Oh, it was the most fun you can have standing up.
Dude,
I've heard everybody in their mom say that.
And one of these days that we saw on the weekend, because it used to be more of a community. You'd wake up, you'd all go to the same like breakfast buffet, cereal, the continental breakfast or whatever that Ramada gives. And then, like, I remember like one morning we went up there to get breakfast, and Tom Savini's there like in a fucking robe, and he's got whoever he bedded down the night before. And these are like con groupies. Like, that's like 3 steps below. I mean, okay, maybe that's 3 steps below a Motley Crue groupie, but it's like maybe only a step away from like an ICP groupie. But they're just like,
definitely more in the juggalette category than a
dude. But I'm like, I get why. So that answers our question. Why would he keep doing this shit if he fucking hates it? He's getting pussy. He's getting that road tail. Mm-hmm. And then one day he had his kids with him. His grandkids were there, and his grandkids are running around the place just unattended to, like just acting like little hellions, and he doesn't give a shit because he's too busy trying to like blah, 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 these jakes. And they're like taking shit off people's tables. They're running around. They're coming to our table. Like we had a booth and shit like that. It's just so funny. I'm like, hey, you're a really nice kid. Will you go rub some of that off on your grandpa? You fucking shit, dude. Like,
all right. So going back to the movie, we got 12 minutes left. Yeah, he's on the phone.
The remaining show will be about Martin. I'm sorry.
I'm always here for the Savini stories because I mean it's
yeah. We like him too. We always ask.
I don't. Oh, the stories, yeah.
Yeah, I love the stories too.
Okay.
So yeah, we're kind of at the closing scene where he ends up getting in a shootout with a couple bums and cops, and kind of hightails it out of there. And
yeah, now he's getting sloppy because he's getting jittery because he hasn't killed anybody lately. He hasn't had he hadn't any blood lately because he's been getting the sex for free, with Mrs. Santini.
I like his reaction to this bum blood. Like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, isn't it? Did he specifically? He prefers women, right? Because like this.
No, because he did the other guy too.
The boyfriend, the guy he caught. Yeah. But he had to kill him. But that felt like a necessity. Like, well, he's here, and whatever.
Well, blood's blood, I think.
Yeah, I don't know
Would
if
be
he
the, but
discriminates blood.
but the sexy stuff, as he calls it, I think it's strictly the ladies.
The
I never
sexy
done it.
stuff.
I never done it with somebody who's awake before. What does he say?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a lot.
Very casual. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with this. I know a few guys in my life that could easily put that on their tombstone as well.
Oh God.
Creeps.
Uh,
Maybe one of them may have been mentioned. No, I'm just kidding. Mentioned earlier.
No, but this last 15 minutes, I think it's great, man. A lot of action. Ending is great. You know, some people might not like it, but I really enjoy it.
I think it shouldn't come as a shock because he tells you that's what he's going to do at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But it still kind of comes at a shock, the abruptness of it
But I
happening.
the irony of it is he's killed because Santini commits suicide. She kills herself in the movie, but it looks risks. Looks as though it's one of Martin's victims.
He says, and I didn't do that one, I swear. Yeah.
Exactly, because Kuda,
Told
Kuda's
him.
aware of, if you take anybody from the town, which he has been, but he hasn't been in the town until, Kuda realizes that he's been hanging out with Santini, and now Santini kills herself. And that's how he gets killed in the end, is by somebody it's
And according to him,
the scene of her in the bathtub where she's laying there, and the shot of that, I think, is one of the best looking shots that Romero ever did. It's
cool.
It is
creepy,
very effective. Absolutely.
And I think this is also one of those movies where, at least in my case, and even now, just on this fourth time, and even talking to you, you get something out of it every time.
Absolutely.
I know this is which is great. I think, like I said, it might not have been the right movie for like a 13-year-old or whatever old I was, 14-year-old, but yeah, definitely I can appreciate it today.
This is Romero to a T right here. This just reminds me of it, and the headshot and everything like that. It's like, yeah.
the gang, what do they just like interrupt a drug deal or whatever the fuck they're doing?
Yeah, this scene always kind of reminded me of that scene in the Terminator, where Michael Bihn's in the shop trying to steal the clothes, and the cops are chasing him through the department store. I was like, it's very reminiscent of that.
How lucky that those hoodlums were also there to to cause that commotion and distraction for her to get away.
Well, I mean, if you've ever been to Braddock, Pennsylvania, it's probably not too far off. There's probably a drug deal going around on some corner you come across. Oh yeah.
God, I miss these. I miss the 70s, this era of where those types of drug dealers kind of seem cool, like Jive Turkey. Like they're just like out of Shaft movies.
The pimps,
yeah, they're so cool.
Pimps.
Like, get out of here, man. They're not even going to try and kill him. They're giving him a chance. Like, get out of here.
Yeah,
I love it. They all got Huggy Bear.
What you waiting for? Get the fuck out.
I think it's cool. Yeah, it's good. When he does get stabbed, though, is it me or does he not look like he's stabbing him in the heart? The wide shot from the side, it literally looks like he's stabbing him his belly button.
Oh yeah,
and it's different when he's above him.
Yeah, that was always one of the biggest complaints from Savini, is that he felt like he should have stopped because he kind of hammers it all the way in, like until the fucking steak disappears, and then you look and see it's halfway sticking out. So that was always one, because I mean, this was Savini, one of Savini's earliest attempts at,
I thought this was his first. Was it not his first?
Well, he did Death Dream, Bob Clark's Death Dream before this, I believe, as well as
Deranged.
Deranged, the one with Robert
Blossom. Yeah.
But
which is a great movie. I love that movie.
He was originally supposed to do the effects on the original Night of the Living Dead too, but he ended up getting drafted, which I think worked out for the best for him, because his effects became as good as they were because of his time in Vietnam, because he saw live bodies and saw how shit actually looked.
But it would also kind of eat at me, though. Like, if I was a professional, like, dude, I could have done the fucking makeup in the prototypes on the movie.
Yeah.
That one that everybody spoofs and everybody goes to. And but yeah, you're probably right.
Still a good career.
I love my favorite featurette. I love watching behind the scenes and featurettes and documentaries. I think Dawn of the Dead has the coolest featurette out of any featurette. I love watching the making of that movie.
Oh, the Document of the Dead?
I love the Document of the Dead maybe as much as the movie itself. It's so cool. Yeah. I love watching how that sausage is made. And
well, Document was actually my first introduction to Martin, because they were playing that on IFC back in the day, and that's the first time I saw Document of the Dead, and the first time I saw most of the movies I love now was on IFC back in the day. and they kept showing clips of Martin and talking about it. I was like, oh, this movie Martin, that looks kind of interesting. I'll check it out. And then I finally found it in an old mom and pop video store, the old Thorny MI videotape.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it home, watched it, and I was kind of like you. Like first time I saw it, I was like, it's fine, but like I don't really. It's a little slow. Like I don't really kind of understand what's going on here. But then over time, as I watched it more and more, I was like if I were to make a film, like if somebody gave me a budget and a little bit of a crew and stuff, this would be the kind of flick I would make.
It's the kind of movie that sticks to your ribs. It grows with you, and you get a
very
little more out of it,
rewatchable. Yeah, it's a grower, absolutely.
You know, and there's something to that. And going back, it's just like albums. I mean, my favorite albums are the ones that they were a little off-putting the first time I heard them. They took time to digest. Like maybe there was enough there that made me want to like keep, because sometimes shit's so bad. You're like, I'm not gonna.
It's not the Black Album. That's not your favorite album. It's something else, right?
But it's just, I could say that about a lot of albums that I love. It's like there's something about those ones, and you're so happy that you stuck with it, and you really because they just they have legs, and you hear a lot of stuff like pop is like junk food, or the song might be catchy or whatever, but you're gonna be over it in 2 weeks until the next thing comes out. And I'd rather have something like Martin. I mean, Dawn of the Dead is a bit of an exception because it's kind of got that allure, and it's got the narrative and stuff. I think it's got the best of both worlds. I mean, right from the beginning of Dawn of the Dead, when they're raiding the Puerto Rican neighborhood and you see the condom with ketchup and mustard and hot dog pieces explode, dude, that pulls you in as a kid. It's like, all right, I'm here for the gore. And then as you grow up,
Dawn is one of those movies that even today, I mean, I still hear people's theories and thoughts and shit that I've just never even considered. I've seen that movie hundreds of times at this point, and but like, there's just so much there that I don't know if it was intentional on Romero's part, but it just seemed like everything about that movie, everybody was in the same spirit, of the same mind, and everybody kind of got it. And that's so rare. It's literal lightning in a bottle type stuff.
That's how you get those lightning in a bottle situations. And that's what I always say about, like, I don't have favorite directors or favorite filmmakers or favorite actor. I like films. And so, like, the easy go-to, what's my favorite film? I usually say something like Rocky or Alien. It's just kind of a standard. This is a good one. Okay, Alien. It's a perfect film. Ridley Scott, I wouldn't say he's a perfect director. I mean, he's done great movies. He's done bad movies. He's done everything. And Alien isn't good just because of him. Everything about that, like you said, everybody was firing off. Everybody was in sync. Everybody was knocking it out of the park, from the score, the set design, to the tagline, "In space, no one can hear you scream." Everything was just, it was perfect. And so Dawn of the Dead's like that too, for sure. And that's why my opinion, it wasn't completely emulated in Day of the Dead to a T. Because you could probably tell me more, like how many of the moving parts were different in Day from Dawn. There had to have been different people involved, right?
Was it quite a few? Definitely a bigger budget. It was more of a, because I mean the original version of Day was like a $7 million epic. They wouldn't give them the money to make, so they had to cut it down to a 3-hour or a $3 million budget. And George just kind of had to cut it down to what its basic essentials were. And but I think Day's biggest thing, I mean, the performances are great, some of the dialogue I really like, but I mean the effects in Day of the Dead still hold up to this day. And if you look, it's an all-star group of people that work, Savini at the top of that thing. Then you had Nicotero and Howard Berger and the K&B guys, which K&B is now the biggest effects studio in the world. And then you had the Optic Nerve guys, and then you had it was just like everybody that would go on to make tons of money in film in terms of effects work.
Look at the steak. Look at the steak real quick. I don't want to interrupt you, but look where when it pans out, it looks like isn't it a little low to be at his heart? Wait, it's really taking his time with his pan out. But
it's like dead center. It's like dead center. It's like sternum.
He looks really dead. He looks like a real corpse. It's like he's really selling that. It's creepy, dude. Yeah, it just looks too. I don't know. I feel like he missed the heart. It probably still killed him.
That's the thing. I mean,
a
stake in the chest, if you're a vampire or not, a stake in the chest is gonna kill you.
Yeah.
If I was Romero, I would play it off as intentional. I was like, you caught that, right? Like, we didn't even stab him in the heart, but he's dead because he's a human. Because he didn't need to be stabbed. You know what I mean? Like, you could totally play that off.
Yeah.
Maybe. But Night 90 Robert, he says, I don't know you at this point, but I respect what you said. That director is not all there is. It's everybody working together. With Dawn, I think it's I think it is a chemistry with these things. And when you I think it just takes one thing being off that can affect the, the whole solution. And then also that with time, place, and circumstance. Dawn of the Dead, part of it is that when it came out, I love seeing the Brown and Derby inside a mall in a gun
Absolutely.
shop
Yeah.
and the
Mhm.
all this stuff that was not in malls today and malls. So part of it's just, the timing and whatever the social commentary is at the time, what's going on. And just so it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of column A and B, and but yeah, absolutely,
Well,
you gotta.
I look at Dawn as like, I know it came out in '78, but I mean, I look at Dawn as like the first '80s horror film. Because
Mm-hmm.
every film in the '80s tried to emulate it in terms of the gore or the humor aspect of it. Like the '80s, the horror in the '80s is a little more like a party. Like
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
like once you get past the first couple of years of the '80s, that like the slashers, like the more like the gritty, like Maniac
Hmm.
and some of those gritty early slashers. Once you get into like the mid '80s, it's just all it's
Yeah.
fun.
Hmm.
And it's
Goofy.
a
Yeah.
different type of thing, but it's kind of that hadn't really been done before Dawn of the Dead. There wasn't that the level of gore. I don't think it really been done to that level in an American film before, but also just the humor of it.
The soundtrack, there is nothing like that Goblin soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean it was
Day of
just
the Dead
so different.
score cannot compete to that.
I
It's just,
don't.
it sets
Day of
the
the Dead
tone
score is
as fuck.
great too, but yeah.
It
That's
doesn't
a
hold a
constant debate.
candle. No, it
Day
doesn't hold a
versus
candle.
Dawn.
Doesn't hold a candle. There's something so iconic about that Goblin score. It's just burned in my head. I love it. And
Yeah, me too.
even the silly shit,
Mm-hmm.
the whimsical, the fun stuff. I just it's a key component. Speaking of everybody having their role, and yeah, hey, thanks for ringing the bell, bro. We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Absolutely, man.
We never even tell people to do that, but we should, shouldn't we? But I appreciate you, man.
Hell yeah,
No,
Robert.
the film's over. I'm glad the movie kind of turned into just a big celebration talking about Romero and Savini, and I'm always here for it, dude. I
Been
love
so
talking.
fun, man.
I
Yeah,
talk
man.
about yeah.
Any excuse. I enjoyed just coming on here to chat with you guys for the first time. So I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on,
And
guys.
by all means, man, you already kind of like screwed yourself by saying you like talking about anything that's not Romero. You're welcome to come back on and talk about other stuff.
Anytime, man.
Just let me know.
I didn't even think of it that way. Of like, oh yeah, we just invited the Romero
Maybe he
guy to
doesn't want
come
to talk
on.
about Romero.
Yeah, we just invited the Romero guy to
No,
come
no,
on and
trust
talk
me.
We
about
gotta
That,
break.
Romero.
We
that's
gotta break the ice of Romero, though, right?
that's
And
that's
Metallica.
my
And
thing. That's my
Metallica.
thing. I love talking about it. But you
First
talk
the
about
ice, then the
Metallica. It's my opportunity to let people know that it's like I kind of like load and reload and
yeah.
I'm a little out there, but
Well,
um,
if you ever want to come on for another commentary, we can always kind of keep you on the skinny on what we got planned. Or if you ever want to come on and do something that you would like to talk about, a movie that's not Romero, we'll do that. We love doing that
Sure.
stuff. So and
yeah,
when
same for
go
you guys.
for sure, man. Go ahead and pitch your channel for those
Yeah.
that might not know.
Alfa Romero 88, as you see down here underneath my name, Alfa Romero 88. It's all Romero. I try to cover. I look at Romero as like a tree, and it branches off into
Mm,
John Russo and Russ Striner and Tom
Mhm.
Savini and Nicotero and Stephen King and all these other branches that came from Romero's work. So one week I'll talk about Dawn, the next week I may talk about John Russo's Midnight or something. You never know.
Mhm.
Like I just did a watch along with my buddy Synth Addict on YouTube. We did a watch along of The Majorettes, which was directed by Bill
Oh yeah.
Heinzman, who was the original Cemetery Ghoul in Night of the Living Dead, and
Mhm.
written by John Russo. And it's a fucking shit show. But those movies are fucking. I love those movies because they're so
Oh
bad.
yeah.
It's kind of entertaining.
Flesh Eater too. I love. Yeah.
Flesh Eater,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
Flesh Eater, shit like that. So Alfa Romero 88, Alfa Romero on YouTube, check it out. I got a shop, different designs, t-shirts, coffee mugs, etc. shop.alfaromero.store. And then Living Dead weekend's coming up. That's kind of my busy time of the year, so I'm gonna have a Living Dead weekend Romero roundtable coming up here in a couple of weeks with some folks that are gonna be there, and then I'm also gonna
Awesome.
have Lawrence DeVinson and Daz Sargent, who are two of the three guys that kind of make it all happen. I'm going to have them on a stream the weekend before the event, and then I'll be there. I'm going to try to do some live streaming and stuff from the actual event and see what trouble I can get into there. So yeah, check it out if you're interested in Romero or interested in hearing me bullshit.
Absolutely, man.
Because that's usually what the live streams turn into. Is just me bullshitting with the chat and whatever the fuck. Like the last stream I was doing, it ended up we were just talking about like cigarettes and just random
Whiskey and wild, wild women.
yes,
That was good.
cigarettes and whiskey and wild women.
Oh yeah,
That's
you
pretty
seen
much what
Desert
it
Heat?
was.
Desert
No,
Heat.
I just know that I used to
Oh,
cover
is
that song back in the
Is
day.
that really a song? I just
Yes,
thought
that's a real song.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's by a group from the 40s called the Sons of the Pioneer something. I can't remember what it is, but it is an actual song.
we watched this movie called Desert Heat. We love it with Jean-Claude Van Damme. It was one of his
Mhm.
straight-to-video affairs, and it's got Danny Trejo in it, and he's like his old Indian buddy, and you know he's died. He goes to commit, you know, unalive himself in the desert, and then Danny Trejo comes and saves him, and he's nursing him back to health, and he's like, you remember those old senior, like, yeah, the song we'd sing, cigarettes and whiskey, and they're both singing, wow, wow, we mean, and they sound terrible, and it's just the funniest, most awkward scene.
And we
We met
got him to say that.
I met him at a
Yeah.
convention. I got the video and got him singing. He's like, "Oh yeah, cigarettes and whiskey." So stupid. Anyway,
Yeah, it's a
so
real song. Sons
not
of Pioneers, I think is the name. And they actually, back when it came out in like the 40s, they couldn't actually say whiskey for
wow.
censorship reasons. So they would
Wow,
say
okay.
cigarettes and wooski and what. So there's a fun fact for if you're ever on Jeopardy.
I mean, like they were like marketing cigarettes to kids back then. Cigarettes weren't the problem then.
Yeah,
You know,
whiskey. That was the issue. You know.
whiskey was the issue.
We're coming off prohibition, man. Come on.
There you go.
And hey, really quick, so not to drag this out, but I have to ask, since you said Romero's the tree and your foundation, and you branch out from there on your show. How do you feel about Children of the Living Dead and knockoff movies like that? Knockoff movies like that, where Savini will take handouts. So, okay, you pay me $5,000, I'll come and do your piece of shit for an afternoon.
Well, you mentioned Savini. I'll say that Savini's the first 10 minutes of that film with Savini are the only thing worth watching in that
That's
movie.
what we say. Yeah.
Yeah. After that, you can turn it off. Like it's
Riverman. So really quick, Riverman and I remember we went to like a Best Buy in high school, and you were just like a zombie crazy, man. Anything with this is exactly why they hire a guy for a day like Savini to put his name on it, because you get suckers like Todd here that you take advantage of. I'm like, anything with Savini, man.
Got me too. It got me too. It's fine.
Yeah, and he bought it. We went back to his house. We watched it, and it's like, oh yeah, Savini kicking ass. He's just like Blade. And he's in a barn killing like a zombie. And yeah, I was like, oh, that's it, huh? And the rest of the whole movie is this, whatever his name, Abbott, whatever the fuck that guy's name is.
Yeah.
He's like wandering around. It's just scenes of him.
We did a commentary on it. It was pretty bad.
We did we did a commentary in the last few months. It actually was really great to rewatch that movie. And we go into some factoids in there because we found a blog post of the director that just went full bore on like why this movie's a piece of shit. And he spilled all the tea. It was brilliant. Like, oh, I'm so happy I know all this. And because when you watch movies like this.
If you hear John Russo talk about it, he'll tell a different story about why that movie sucked. And it's because they didn't listen to him and use his script. They ended up going and changing the script so many times with the daughter of the director or the producer or something like that. And it's just like this whole fucking thing. And it's just,
the director will be like, no, they fucking bait and switch my ass. Like, hey, do you want to make a movie like it's gonna be a spiritual successor to Night of the Living Dead with and then and he of course angles the whole nepotism shit coming in and destroying. I love that kind of stuff, dude, because I watch bad movies and I'm like, there's a reason why this is bad. And just like why a movie's good, it's the amount, it's everybody. It's everybody contributes. It's not one person's fault a movie falls apart. I know this. It's like usually I guarantee you nobody here wanted or aimed to make a bad movie. You know, they had pure intentions and something went awry that fucked it. And I love watching movies like that. Like, man, well, this is clearly they fixed this shit the best they could in the editing. You could tell. But I love just deconstructing what happened here. And I would love.
That's the fun of talking about John Russo stuff, because Russo himself, like if you talk to John Russo or hear him in interviews, it always starts out with, well, yeah, that was a piece of shit, and this is why. And he goes into all the reasons why it didn't work. You know, it's just like, okay.
I don't know if you could get enough people to actually sign on for something like that. But I would love to be able to have a series like that where I can just talk to people that had abortions of films and for them to be very transparent about it. Like what happened? Because I would come at them because we talked about that what is the what's that fucking movie with Eddie Furlong and Shelley Duvall's last movie, Forest Hills?
Oh,
Forest
Force
Hills,
Hills,
yeah.
yeah.
They were marketing, and we watched that. We did the movie's terrible. Anyway,
The director
but
came on though at the end.
yeah.
and
So and
jumped
then
on
we were
with them.
talking to him, and I was transparent. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be on a bush. I said, I know it wasn't your fault, but I could see, I was saying like, look, I can tell you guys were pressed for time here. You could tell by this, you had this person for probably an afternoon. You could tell you guys were doing what you could. You reused this Rico shot of him washing his tits in the lake like 5 times. This you can't. So clearly there was some
Who,
padding.
Edward Furlong's tits? I haven't seen it.
No,
No, we
but
would've
I'm
loved
just
to see
saying,
it.
like, you could tell there's a lot of heart and spirit in it, but you could tell things went off the rails. And I love being honest about that with people in a respectful way, and them being reciprocal and be like, hey, you know, whatever. I love that. I wish I could talk. I wish they could just line up and take my
Yeah.
beating. No, I'm just kidding. But I I respect everybody that makes a film, dude. It's tough. It's hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so difficult. And I think it's cliche, but dude, if you make a film, you won. If you
Mhm.
get to the finish line, you won. If it's good, dude, that is gravy that no one promises you, right? But it's just like bonus. So nothing but love. But like I said, I watched Children of the Living Dead. I'm like, I know this guy didn't want to make this movie. There's no way. There's no way he wanted to make this movie, because I get it. Opinions are like assholes, but this is objectively bad. Something
Yeah.
happened. So
Well, another big issue with that movie too is that they spent pretty much all their budget in the first couple of days shooting, because they
You can
shot
tell.
the first 10 minutes with the helicopter and all the extras and stuff, and then after that they had nothing left, and they were just kind of like, all right, well, we got to figure this out.
Yeah, we lost your camera, Todd. We're gonna wrap up. Are you here? Where'd he go? All right. Well, anyway, so we'll
That's it. I'm out.
yeah, I don't really know
Too
where
much
he went.
Children of the Living Dead talk for him. He's
I
like, fuck this.
we killed him. All right, guys. So that'll be it. Remind everybody as well, we have a channel too. You're here. Like the video, please subscribe if you haven't already. And if this is your first time here, we've been around 14 years. We literally got over 1,000 videos, tons of content, commentaries galore, something for everybody. If you want to support us extra, we have a membership. $2.99 takes you home, baby. And we got bonus commentaries just for you. I think what's our newest member commentary? We just did. God, can't even fucking remember what we just did. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of shit up there. I know we did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation last. We got to do another one next week. Haven't decided what
I
we're
love
doing.
Next Generation.
It's an interesting one. it's but and then as far as the normal
love it.
commentaries, Leprechaun in the Hood will be coming out any day now. And then yeah, so tune in. All right, guys. Thanks again. Bye.
Courtesy flush.